Chapter 3366. Then I will have to trouble you, brother Zhongtian, to help me. Duan and I cursed inside but said politely, Brother Zhongtian, if you find anything, you must tell me when you go to my race next time. Right about that guy at the Emperor Realm? Yin Zhongtian shouted. A Saint King came in. Yin Zhongtian pointed to Duan and I and said, Go with this lord. Be discreet. If anything goes wrong, you will be responsible. Understood. The Saint Emperor outside nodded, and Duan and I immediately left with a smile on her face. He didn't do much other than tell the Saint King where Lu Li was and then went back to the tavern. That Saint King left quietly. He didn't show up in person. Instead, he went to make arrangements. Lu Li was still asleep. He had no idea that a plot had begun against him. 2 days later, Lu Li woke up. He went out to gather some information. He took Zishi with him. Duan and I was in the city, and Lu Li was worried about her. But Zishi put on a cloak. After all, she was too pretty. He was afraid that she might be able to tell that she was from the Qinya race. As soon as he walked to the door of the tavern, a man rushed in, reeking of alcohol. Lu Li reacted quickly. He took Zishi's hand and moved to the side to avoid the drunkard. Unexpectedly, the drunkard tilted his body and bumped into Lu Li. He even stepped on Zishi's foot. His face reeked of alcohol, which made Lu Li frown. Zishi cried out in pain as well. Lu Li stared at the warrior in dissatisfaction. The ring on his hand glowed. He secretly took out a memory crystal and recorded this scene. Duan and I was nearby. Lu Li had to be careful. What if this was a plot? What are you looking at? Courting death. That drunkard was a Saint King. He must have had a lot to drink. He stared at Lu Li and said, Bastard, if you keep looking, I will dig your eyes out. I am sorry, my lord. Lu Li said politely, My lord, it is our fault. Please be magnanimous and forgive us. The drunkard was taken aback. Then he said angrily, You think you can forgive us just because you say so? Who do you think you are? Kneel. I knew it. Lu Li's heart sank. He knew there was something wrong with this drunkard. He was clearly looking for trouble. They were not allowed to use force in the city. Once they did, both parties would be taken down. Once he was captured, Lu Li's life would be in someone else's hands. Duan and I bribed someone in power in the Yun family. An idea flashed across Lu Li's mind. At the same time, he began to analyze how to get out of this situation. He absolutely could not be caught. Otherwise, he would definitely be imprisoned, then secretly sent out of the city, and finally fall into the hands of Duan and I. Enter the law realm? There were so many experts in the city. At this moment, the commotion here had already attracted the attention of some martial artists. Maybe there were experts observing in the dark. Lu Li thought about it and flew out of the window. Standing on the street, he said with a smile, Lord, we are in the city. Don't do anything rash. Otherwise, you'll be arrested by the city guards. You've drunk too much. You should go back and rest. Lu Li's voice was loud. He did it on purpose. There were many warriors on the street, and there were taverns nearby. He deliberately put on the image of a weakling so that the martial artists in the city could testify for him. The Duan family and the Yin family were not on good terms. Therefore, Lu Li believed that the powerful warrior of the Duan family would not be able to bribe someone in power in the Yin family. At best, he could bribe an average patriarch. Average patriarchs could not do anything in the Cloud King city. Therefore, Lu Li wanted to make a scene so that the patriarch wouldn't dare to do anything rash. The drunkard was hesitating. This was not what he had in mind. Normally, Lu Li and he would make a scene inside, and then the city guard would come. Then, both parties would be arrested, and the drunkard would have nothing to do with it. But now, Lu Li was shouting outside. So many warriors were watching, and Lu Li looked innocent. How would the drunkard go on? The drunkard thought about it. The one standing behind him was a commander of the city guards. What did it mean? It meant that this puny warrior of the Emperor realm had offended the Yun family. What else did the drunkard have to worry about? The Yun family would be on his side no matter what. At that moment, the drunkard didn't think too much. He dashed out quickly and kicked Lu Li in the chest. Lu Li could have dodged, but there were so many warriors around, and he was a warrior of the Emperor realm. If he dodged quickly, he would arouse suspicion. Therefore, the drunkard was kicked away. He rolled on the ground and said with grievance, "Lord, how can you hit me? Father." Zishi ran over. Her cloak fell off, revealing her delicate face. She said with grievance, "Father, how are you? Lord, please don't hit my father. Please." Zishi's pitiful look was pitiful. Many warriors nearby looked over and used psychic power. Many warriors came out from the balconies of the taverns. There must be more than 1,000 warriors paying attention. Whoosh! From a distance came a team of warriors. They were 10 Saint Kings in silver armors. 10 Saint Emperors surrounded Lu Li and the drunkard. One of them shouted coldly, "How dare you? How dare you fight in the city? Take them down and bring them back." "Ha ha!" Lu Li sneered to himself. It was just as he had thought. He stood up and said, "Wait, lords. We are not fighting. I am the one being beaten. I did not use any force. All the warriors here can be my witness." Zishi nodded and said, "Yes, it is this bad guy who beat my father. My father did not do anything. Please don't take my father." The escorts were stunned as well. They had received orders to bring both parties to the mayor's mansion if someone in the city started a fight later. They knew there must be something shady going on, but it didn't seem to be going according to the script. As a matter of fact, they were watching nearby. Luli did not use any force. "Let's talk at the mayor's mansion," a Saint King said coldly. "The mayor's mansion will uphold justice. If you are innocent, we will not make things difficult for you. Take him away." "No," Luli said stubbornly. "I will not go with you. I suspect that you are in cahoots. I suspect that you are trying to set me up. I have never done anything. So many warriors here can be my witness. Why do you want to take me? What right do you have to take me? Which rule of the city have I violated? This is the Cloud King City, a city with the strictest laws. How dare you use such despicable means? You want me to go to the mayor's mansion? Sure, but I want to see your patriarch of law enforcement, or I will not accept it." Lu Li's voice was getting louder, as if he was filled with grief and indignation. His words could be heard on more than a dozen streets nearby. At least tens of thousands of warriors could hear him. "How dare you?" A Saint King escort flew into a rage. He grabbed Lu Li's neck and shouted, "How dare you challenge the law enforcement team in public? Believe it or not, I will kill you right now." "Fine, I will go with you to the mayor's mansion." Lu Li had achieved his goal. He said calmly, "I only hope that the Cloud King City is as fair and just as it is said to be. Otherwise, I will not accept it. P.S. 4 chapters added. M. Chapter 3367. The Yun King City had always been known for its strict laws. Warriors of the Yun family were known to be fair and just. They would neither bully the weak nor fear powerful enemies. The Yun family was well known at the southern region. What Lu Li did seemed to be simple, but it was full of meaning. First of all, he didn't do anything. He recorded everything with a memory crystal. Secondly, many warriors nearby saw it, and they could testify. Thirdly, his roar was very loud and attracted the attention of countless warriors. It might even attract the attention of powerhouses. Lastly, and most importantly, he emphasized that the warriors might be colluding with the drunkard. He suspected there was a conspiracy. He was taking precautions to arouse the suspicion of warriors nearby. Also, he had to see the law enforcement patriarch and show that he was not afraid of death. Under such circumstances, unless the law enforcement patriarch of the Yun family was bought off, Lu Li wouldn't be convicted. If the law enforcement patriarch of the Yun family could be bought off, then the laws of the Yun family would have been broken and the Yun family would have had a scandal. If Lu Li cooperated, then the warrior couldn't kill Lu Li. They had to bring Lu Li and the drunkard back. Many warriors were interested in this matter. Some warriors had nothing else to do, so they went to the mansion of the Yun King City to see how things would develop. The law enforcement hall would deal with the disputes in the city. But normally, the hall would be guarded by several commanders in turns. The law enforcement patriarch wouldn't come out unless something serious happened. The leader on duty today happened to be Yun He, the one Yun Zhongtian arranged. He sat in the main hall with dignity. When Lu Li and the drunkard came in, Yun He glared at them coldly and shouted, "Kneel!" A show of strength. Lu Li looked at the commander, but didn't kneel. Was the drunkard sober now? He knelt down in fear. Yuni was happy to see that Luli didn't kneel, but he pretended to be cold. He shouted, "Are you deaf? How dare you challenge my authority in public? Do you believe that I will kill you right here?" "I am not guilty." Luli seemed to be full of pride. He stood up straight and said coldly, "I have been abiding by the law in the city. I have paid so many celestial stones to enter the city. I think the Cloud King city should be protected, not bullied. I didn't break the iron law, so I'm not a criminal. Since I'm not a criminal, why should I kneel?" Zishi was also brought in. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she said pitifully, "The bad guys beat my father, and you are helping the bad guys to bully my father. You're also bad guys." The door of this hall faced the outside. At this moment, there were hundreds of martial artists surrounding it. Many of them had their divine wills sweeping over. When they saw this scene, many martial artists resonated with it. They had paid the entrance fee to enter the city. They were here to be protected, not to be bullied. Luli's words were so sharp that Yuni didn't know how to react. There were so many warriors outside, and so many psychic powers. What if some big shots were here? Yuni was silent for a moment and shouted coldly, "Whether you're guilty or not, it's not up to you to say. This seat has his own judgment. Tell me, why are you fighting in the city?" The drunkard kowtowed on the ground and said, "My lord, this lowly one is guilty. When I entered the inn today, I bumped into this brat. He pushed me and insulted this lowly one. So this lowly one got angry and kicked him. He was the one who made the first move. How dare you?" Yuni shouted angrily. He glanced over to Lu Li and said, "Our warriors told you when you entered the city. Violence is not allowed in the city. You two are too bold. No matter what the reason is, you are guilty of a serious crime." "Wait." Lu Li cupped his fists in front of his chest and interrupted Yun He. He said, "My lord, is this how you judge a case? Just one side of the story? Why don't you call some witnesses? How can you convince people like this? What witnesses do you need?" Yun He shouted coldly. "At that time, there was a group of soldiers patrolling near you, and they clearly investigated what happened to you. They have just reported it to me secretly. If they're not witnesses, then what are they? There is no point in quibbling." "Ha ha ha." Luli laughed out loud. His laughter was filled with grief and indignation. He said, "Where are the witnesses? I want to confront them on the spot." Yin He wanted to lose his temper on the spot and kill Lu Li right away. However, there were so many warriors outside. If he were to act recklessly, then he might be investigated by the higher-ups. By then, he might be sentenced to death or at least severely. Yin Zhongtian had said that he would take responsibility if anything went wrong. "Bring in the witnesses." Yin He waved his hand. Several warriors came in. They were the ones that caught Lu Li. Lu Li looked at them and said, "Did you see me do it with your own eyes? This drunkard is saying that I made the first move? Are you sure about this? Do you know the consequences of perjury in the Yin family?" Lu Li was a criminal, but at this moment, he felt a little aggressive, like he was a judge. The few Saint Emperors looked at each other. Finally, one of them gritted his teeth and said, "I was nearby at that time. When you were fighting, I used my divine perception to look over. I did see you push him. Why are you still trying to deny it?" Luli put on a cold smile. He was like a cunning fox that had succeeded in its scheme. Luli said in a low voice, "My lord, are you sure?" That Saint Emperor felt creeped out by Lu Li's stare. But what else could he say at this point? He made up his mind and said, "Of course." Buzzing, Luli took out the memory crystal that he had been hiding in his sleeve and poured his source energy into it. Then, a picture appeared in midair. It was a recording of everything that had happened since the drunkard came in. The picture was clear, and it recorded everything that had happened. Swish, swish, swish. When Luli took out the memory crystal, the Saint Emperor's face was drained of all color. There was an uproar as if someone was going to explode. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many warriors began to gather here. Many of them were just checking with psychic power. Now, they could not sit still, and they all came over. Something big had happened. Warriors of the Yun King City were committing perjury. How could something like this happen at the Yun King City that was known to have the strictest laws? How could the Yun family that was known to be impartial and fair have such a dirty and shameless side? Naturally, this caused quite a stir. The situation seemed to be getting out of hand. More and more warriors were gathering here. Not only the warriors, but even Yunhe's back was drenched in cold sweat. Li put away the memory crystal after it finished playing. Looking at Yunhe, he said, when the conflict happened, there were at least more than a dozen warriors in that tavern. My lord, why didn't you ask them to testify? Why did you ask your men to commit perjury instead? Have you been hoodwinked? Or was it you who inspired it? The Yun family of the Yun King City, a family with a history of more than 10,000 years, a famous family in the entire immortal region. Why would you frame me, an insignificant warrior of the Emperor realm? Please give me an answer. Li suddenly used dragon roar in the last few words. His voice resounded through the clouds and covered more than half of the Yun King City. It was like a thunderbolt from the clear sky, causing Yunhe to almost jump up from the shock. That soldier who gave the false testimony earlier was so frightened that he fell on his buttocks. Chapter 33:68. Almost all martial artists knew a divine ability like the dragon roar divine skill. They just needed to circulate their source energy to amplify their voice. But in a super city like the Cloud King City, few warriors dared to shout like this. If the higher-ups of the Yun family were enraged, they would be slapped to death. It had been a long time since a warrior dared to shout in the Cloud King City. Li's shout was like a clap of thunder that woke up many warriors and powerful warriors in the city. In an instant, at least 100,000 psychic powers scanned over, and many of them were very powerful. After Yun, sensed a few dozen vaguely familiar spiritual senses. His face immediately became as pale as snow, and his body began to tremble slightly. Buzzing. The space in the hall trembled as a white-haired old man came out. As soon as he showed up, several warriors in the hall dropped to one knee and saluted. Greetings, Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Yun stood up, forced himself to calm down, and knelt to salute. The white-haired old man paid no attention to Yunhe and the warriors. Looking at Li, he said, the Yun family is a family with a history of more than 10,000 years. We have a great reputation, and we are well known in the entire immortal region for our strict rules. The Yun family will not set you up, and they will not stoop to doing so. Some scum of the Yun family cannot represent the Yun family. Li calmed down after seeing the old man. He bowed and said, Greetings, Lord. Just now I was angry, so I acted recklessly. I have offended you and the Yun family. I am willing to accept any punishment. Smart. Many warriors outside gave him a thumbs up. Li's performance was perfect. He didn't mention anything about being set up. Instead, he admitted his mistake. He didn't want to give the Yun family any chance to make trouble for him. As a family with a history of more than 10,000 years, it was necessary for them to be tolerant. If they vented their anger on a warrior of the Emperor realm because of their own family, then the Yun family would be laughed at by the world. Patriarch of Law Enforcement waved his hand and said, Please wait a moment. I will deal with this on the spot, and I will give you a satisfactory answer. The law enforcement elder walked to the main seat and locked his gaze on the martial artist who gave false testimony. He glanced at him and said, Speak. Who ordered you to do this? The soldier had just stood up when he knelt down again. His eyes flickered, and his lips moved slightly. Finally, he lowered his head and said, Elder, I am guilty. This matter is my own doing. Xiao. The law enforcement elder moved his hand, and a sword light swept out. The Saint Emperor's head was directly cut off, and blood spurted 3 meters into the air. Wow, an uproar immediately broke out outside. Was this law enforcement elder really that tyrannical, killing without even a trial? However, when he thought about the internal affairs of the Yun family, the enforcement elder did indeed have the authority to kill him if he wanted to. The enforcement elder stared coldly at the remaining soldiers and said, All of you are guilty of the death penalty. However, if you speak up, I won't pursue the matter of your lineage. Thump! The rest of the soldiers all knelt down. One of the soldiers smiled bitterly at Yunhe and said, Disciplinary elder, this was what Commander Yun wanted us to do. We were only following orders. Please forgive us, elder. Thump! Yunhe knelt down. His lips were filled with bitterness. It was supposed to be a small matter. How could it turn out like this? He knew he could not live. Since the law enforcement elder had started the killing, then he would not be able to escape death. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. Soon, he bowed and said, "Patriarch, I am willing to admit my mistake." The law enforcement elder showed no emotion. He said calmly, "Tell me, why did you frame him? What is the reason? Tell me the whole story." Yin's eyes flickered. In the end, he looked at Zishi, who was next to Lu Li, and said, "I have a special fetish. I like this girl." What? It was boiling outside. One of the leaders of the Yun family was interested in a girl of 4 or 5 years old. How could he frame Lu Li? He wanted to capture Lu Li and Zishi and take Zishi for himself. Even though it was a scandal, it was not a big deal. Pretty girls were trouble in and of themselves. Pretty girls could attract the covetous eyes of powerful warriors everywhere. Then they would be snatched away or could lead to fights. It was not unusual. Ha. Lu Li sneered to himself. The reason seemed reasonable, but Lu Li knew it was not true. What was more, Yin didn't look like a lecherous warrior. He didn't even look at Zishi, and when he did, he was calm. When Lu Li was about to say something, law enforcement elder shouted coldly, "Yin, are you going to come to your senses? How dare you lie in front of me? In order to cover up the truth, you are trying to smear yourself with dirty water? So, it must be a patriarch who instigated this. Tell me, or else your family will have a hard time in the future." Not only was Yin stunned, but many warriors outside were as well. Originally, Yin had confessed and even splashed dirty water on himself. The explanation he gave was also very reasonable. This matter should more or less come to an end, right? But this law enforcement elder wanted to dig deeper. He even made it clear that it was a patriarch who instigated this. Was he trying to kill a patriarch of the Yin family? Was it worth it to give Lu Li an explanation? Who was Lu Li? He was just a warrior of the Emperor realm. How could a patriarch of the Yun family be involved in such a small matter? Many warriors looked at Lu Li, wondering what was so special about this warrior of the Emperor realm. Was he worth a patriarch's order to murder him? Patriarchs of the Yun family were all-powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm. The bitterness at the corner of Yun's mouth became more and more intense. The law enforcement elder was impartial. He would keep his word. If he didn't reveal the mastermind behind the scenes, his bloodline would probably not have a good time. Seeing that Yun didn't say anything, law enforcement elder shouted, "Yun, don't make me search your soul." Alas, Yun sighed. He lowered his head and said, "It is Patriarch Zhongtian. A patriarch of the Duan family is here. I asked him to take down this warrior." Whoosh! As soon as Yun said this, Duan and I in a tavern dashed toward the city gate like a ghost. At that moment, a glare came out from the city. Then a shield appeared, and the city was sealed. Law enforcement patriarch stood up, scanned with psychic power, and said to Duan and I, "Patriarch Duan, now that you are here, come and see me. Also, Zhongtian, come as well." The entire city was in an uproar. Originally, it was just a small matter that couldn't be any more small. Now, it had developed into such a situation. An elder of the Duan family and an elder of the Yun family were both involved. More importantly, judging by law enforcement patriarch's attitude, he wouldn't let it go so easily. It was possible that the patriarch of the Duan family and Yun Zhongtian would be punished. It was worth watching the show today. A family with a history of 10,000 years is impressive. Lu Li was convinced. This was the magnanimity of a big family. This was the broad-mindedness of a big family. There is a reason why the Yun family could be so famous. A family that could be so cruel to themselves would be even more cruel to outsiders. In the chaotic world of the immortal region, only cruelty could stand firm. Otherwise, the family would have been gnawed away by others. Chapter 3369. Duan and I wanted to rush to the city gate, but after hearing what the patriarch of law enforcement said, he had a complicated look on his face. The shield had been activated, and it was impossible for him to rush out. Besides, there were many powerful divine senses locked onto him. If he dared to do anything, he would be killed instantly. He tidied up his clothes and walked to the governor's residence. Although something had happened, he was the patriarch of the Duan family, and the iron law of the Yun family could not stop him. After all, he did not use force in the city. Yun Zhongtian was panicking in his heart, but he didn't show it on the surface. Yun Zhongtian muttered to himself for several breaths of time before leaving. But he did not go to the governor's residence. Instead, he went to the north of the city. With his speed, he arrived at a manor in a few seconds. Plop! He dropped to his knees and said in shame, "Patriarch, I am here to ask for forgiveness." Yin Zhongtian was smart. If he went to the governor's residence, it would be official business. No one could predict what would happen in front of all the warriors in the city. Therefore, he came here to ask for the patriarch's forgiveness. This was a family matter. There was a difference between family and official business. If he did it behind closed doors, it would not be so embarrassing and the sentence would be lighter. Creak! The door of the manor opened and a boy came out. Although he was just a boy, Yin Zhongtian did not dare to look down on him. This was the descendant of the patriarch, the favorite descendant of the patriarch. The boy had been with him ever since he was born and was taught by the patriarch himself. The boy walked out and looked at Yin Zhongtian coldly. "The patriarch has ordered that you should not be here. Go to the governor's residence." Swish, 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 Yin Zhongtian's complexion turned pale. The family king's attitude was very clear. This time, he had bumped into an iron plate. The family king's attitude would cause the law enforcement elder to give him a harsher sentence. But since the patriarch had said it, it was meaningless for him to say anything more. He could only sneak back to the governor's residence. When he entered the governor's residence, he found that Duan Ni was already inside. He was the patriarch of the Yun family, but the patriarch of law enforcement was only below the patriarch and the chief patriarch. He bowed respectfully and waited on the side. The law enforcement elder glanced at Duan Ni and Yun Zhongtian and said, "Do the two of you have anything to say?" Yun he accused Elder Duan Ni of bribing Elder Yun Zhongtian to frame this young friend. "Is this true?" Yun Zhongtian straightforwardly nodded and said, "That's right. That's the truth. Duan and I gave me some treasures and asked me to help capture this person and send him out of the city. This matter was a moment of greed on my part, and I did not guard my heart. I will accept any punishment from the disciplinary elder." Since Yin Zhongtian said so, what else could Duan and I say? He could only spread his hands and say, "Yes, I was ordered by my clan's king to capture this brat. This brat entered the city, and I didn't dare to use force inside the city, so I could only resort to this." Now, that things had come to this point, everything was clear. Everything was clear. Now, all they had to do was wait for the enforcement elder to convict them. The enforcement elder sat there quietly with his eyes closed. Clearly, he was communicating with the Yun clan king. More than 1,000 martial artists gathered outside. All of them were silent as they waited for the final verdict. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the enforcement elder opened his eyes and looked at Yun Zhongtian first and said, "Yun Zhongtian, the clan has decided to relieve you of your elder position. At the same time, you'll be sent to Moon-Seeking Island to guard for 10,000 years. Do you accept this?" Moon-Seeking Island, 10,000 years. Suddenly, there was an uproar outside. Moon-Seeking Island was an extremely terrifying place. Even an expert who was infinitely close to the absolute perfection realm would not be able to withstand it. Was Yin Zhongtian going crazy after being locked inside for 10,000 years? Yin Zhongtian's complexion turned pale. He seemed to have aged a few thousand years in a split second. After a moment of silence, he nodded and said, "Zhongtian is willing to accept this punishment. Go." The enforcement elder waved his hand. Yin Zhongtian tidied up his clothes and strode out. Even though he was being punished heavily, he did not lose his bearing. Many martial artists outside were in awe. This Yin Zhongtian was indeed a character. After Yin Zhongtian left, the enforcement elder turned to Duan and I and said, "Duan and I, you are a patriarch of the Duan family. But as long as you come to the Cloud King City, we will treat you equally, regardless of your status or abilities. All are equal under the Iron Law. You didn't do it yourself, but you did. Therefore, you are the culprit, and you must accept the punishment. Duan's expressions turned cold. He had thought that since he was a patriarch of the Duan family, and he was here on the order of the family patriarch, he could be considered a special emissary. After all, Luli didn't die in the end. This was not a big deal. At best, it was just a drunkard kicking Luli. At the very least, if the patriarch of the Yun family was not greedy for money, could Duan and I buy him off? This was the Yun family's problem. How could Duan and I vent his anger on him? Duan and I cupped his fists and said, I am here on orders. I am a special emissary. I am here to discuss with Patriarch Zhongtian on behalf of our family to capture the villain who attacked our family. He is just an Emperor Realm warrior. Patriarch Zhongyue, why do you have to go all the way and not let go? Give me this bastard. Our family will be grateful, and we will repay you handsomely in the future. Duan's words seemed to make sense. The Duan family was a big family, and so was the Yun family. It was natural for the two families to help each other. It was just to capture an Emperor Realm warrior. If he could gain the friendship of the Duan family, why not? If a small warrior caused a war between the two families, the loss would outweigh the gain. Both Lu Li and Zishi were getting nervous. Duan and I was a smart guy. He was good at changing the topic. All of a sudden, he brought the issue to the peace and war between the two races. Compared to the relationship between the two races, Lu Li was really insignificant. Many warriors looked at Patriarch of Law Enforcement, waiting to see what he had to say. Without thinking, Patriarch of Law Enforcement said with a smile, First of all, you cannot represent the Duan family. Second, we do not value the friendship and repayment of the Duan family. Third, you have corrupted a patriarch of our family. This is a heinous crime and cannot be forgiven. Fourth, our family is established by iron law. Whether the iron law is fair or not is related to the reputation and ethos of our family. This is the foundation of our family. You want to destroy our family. How can we forgive you? Even if the top 10 patriarchs of the Duan family are here, we will punish them severely, let alone a patriarch like you. Good, someone shouted. Many onlookers of the Yin family were excited and cheered for Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Lu Li secretly praised Patriarch of Law Enforcement. This was a real big family. This was the confidence and grace of a big family. Coldness rose in Duan's eyes. He snorted and said, What? Do you dare to kill me? Yes. Patriarch of Law Enforcement nodded calmly and said, Not only will I kill you, I will send your body back to the Duan King City. I will also demand an explanation from your family. Otherwise, the relationship between our two families will not be friendship, but war. Impressive. Lu Li was convinced. This was a real big family, a real wealthy family. They did things in an open and above-board manner. They didn't care about any conspiracy. They would crush their enemies directly. If they were not convinced, then fight. Chapter 3370. Duan's expressions changed. What kind of person was the law enforcement patriarch of a Yun family? Since he had said it in front of everyone, it was definitely the words of a king. This matter could not be changed, so he would definitely die. How could the Yun family make trouble for the Duan family? The Yun family was used to being overbearing. No wonder it was the most powerful family at the eastern side of the southern region. Duan and I made up his mind. Since he was going to die anyway, he had to drag someone down with him. Killing the other warriors was pointless. Why not kill Lu Li? Everything was caused by Lu Li. At least, killing Lu Li could vent his anger. On this thought, Duan and I turned to Lu Li and dashed toward Lu Li like a ghost. Unexpectedly, a powerful warrior was faster than him. He stood in front of Lu Li in a flash. Then he waved his hand and slapped. Boom! Like a nebula expanding, darkness enveloped Duan and I in an instant. At that moment, the momentum was so oppressive that Lu Li couldn't breathe. Zishi's little face turned pale. Countless warriors outside felt it difficult to breathe. Boom! Duan and I was smashed away like a sack. All his bones were broken. He looked at Law Enforcement Patriarch in shock, reached out his hand and said, Great, great. You have reached the great perfection. Boom! Duan and I fell to the ground and breathed his last. It was dead silent. Many people stared at law enforcement patriarch in horror. Many other warriors were overjoyed. The Yin family only had 2 warriors at the great perfection. Now, there might be one more. The Yin family had become stronger. Take care of his body and send it to the Duan family. Law enforcement patriarch waved his hand. Then he looked at Lu Li and said, "My friend, there are some scum in our family. You have been wronged. So, we could give you some compensation. You can either have 1 trillion celestial stones, or you can go to our dragon-seeking ground to study for a year. Make your choice." What? Another commotion broke out. How could law enforcement patriarch give Lu Li such a generous reward? 1 trillion celestial stones was nothing. The dragon-seeking ground was the sacred land of the Yun family. Inside, there were countless stone tablets left behind by the Yun family's ancestors. Those tablets recorded cultivation insights and even secret techniques. The enforcement elder had actually allowed an outsider to enter the Yun family's ancestral land. Gosh, it's the dragon-seeking ancestral land? That place is a place that elders can only enter for 1 year every 1,000 years. The enforcement elder is to the ancestral dragon-seeking land. If I can enter it, it would be worth it even if I have to shorten my life by 10,000 years. This outsider's luck is too good. Sai, why don't I have the same luck? You? Stop dreaming. Do you think you can let the Duan clan's elder plot against you? Do you think you're worthy? The Yin family patriarch raised his eyebrows and asked, "Are you sure you didn't feel it wrong?" "He is at the Emperor realm." "Yes." The law enforcement elder said with certainty, "It is the presence of Tao. You can go over and feel it. You can faintly feel it around him." "I don't understand. How can an Emperor realm warrior have the presence of Tao?" The boy next to them asked curiously, "Ancestors, what is Tao?" "Right. It seems that every Emperor realm Saint Emperor needs to understand Tao. Is it this Tao?" "That is a small Tao." The Yin family patriarch touched the boy's head and said, "You are still young. It is meaningless to understand this now. When you're infinitely close to the consummate realm, you will understand." "I will go and have a look." The Yin family patriarch thought about it and then disappeared on the spot. The next second, he appeared next to Lu Li. But Lu Li didn't notice. He was resting with Zishi in the yard, thinking about what he just found. The Yin family patriarch stood next to Lu Li and tried to sense it. Then he came back again. Lu Li didn't feel anything, and there was no fluctuation in the space. "Just as I thought." The Yin family patriarch nodded and said, "There is indeed the presence of Tao. It is weak, but it is there. It is strange. An Emperor realm warrior. Not even a warrior infinitely close to the consummate realm can have this presence. You did the right thing. Even if you cannot recruit him, it is good to build a good relationship with him. Maybe in the future, you will be rewarded thousands of times more." "That is right." The law enforcement elder nodded. He looked at Lu Li and said, "In our ancestral ground, there are several steels with the Tao of our ancestors. If it can help him, then he must remember our kindness." Chapter 3371. Dragon-Seeking Ancestral Ground. This was one of the 3 ancestral grounds of the Yun family. It was the most mysterious and most powerful place in the Yun family. Powerful warriors of the Yun family would leave behind some tablets before they passed away. They would leave behind their cultivation experiences, their understanding of Tao, and some other trivial matters. This was the most suitable place for the Yun family to cultivate because there were hundreds of thousands of stone steels here. Those who could leave behind something on the steels were saint kings at the very least. This was a precious treasure of the Yun family, as well as one of the foundations of the Yun family. Today, Lu Li was lucky enough to enter this place. Yunyi took Lu Li to a valley. He told Lu Li to come out in a year and that he would wait here. Yunyi did not say anything else. "Aren't they afraid that I will sabotage the place?" Lu Li had an idea, but on second thought, it was unlikely. There must be powerful warriors guarding the place, and there must be powerful divine glyphs. It would be impossible to sabotage the place. Lu Li walked into the valley slowly. He did not use psychic power to check. He looked around and realized that the valley was large. There was a haze in the valley, making it look like a dream or a fantasy. Right across the valley, Luli saw a statue of an old man in sackcloth. His eyes were filled with wisdom. He was holding a book in his hand and gazing into the distance. Yin Yuan, the first forefather of the Yun family. He was at the consummate realm. He was known as Luli walked to the statue and read the life of this powerful warrior. Luli could not help but feel respect. He bowed 3 times and then walked to a winding path on the left. There was a tablet on the left. There are divine glyphs. Luli approached the tablet. He sensed that the tablet was engraved with powerful divine glyphs. It would be difficult to destroy them. He did not think about destroying them. He didn't even ask Blood Fairy to check the divine glyphs. The handwriting on the tablet was messy and ugly. It was written in an ancient language. Luli could understand it, but he couldn't understand the meaning. The language was bold and unconstrained, and the words were written without any rhyme or reason. What is the Tao seeking? What is the Tao? Heaven has no Tao, but heaven and earth have Tao. What is the difference between having Tao and not having Tao? What is the difference between the Tao seeking and the Tao forgetting? In the end, you will be nothing but a pile of dirt. The heavens and earth are boundless and boundless. Who can truly control it? When seeking the Tao, do you ask yourself, or do you ask something else? There were only hundreds of words on the stele. It didn't seem to be a record of his cultivation experience. Instead, it was more like the ramblings of a neurotic person. There was no order to his words. Luli read for a while, but didn't gain anything. He moved on to the next stele. Wind Dragon's Sword Intent. The next stone tablet recorded a strange way of fighting. Luli studied it carefully and realized that it would be difficult to learn it in a short time. He memorized all the words and planned to study them later. After Luli left the stone tablet, he suddenly noticed something. All the words he had memorized had disappeared. He couldn't even remember what kind of fighting methods were written on the stone tablet. How strange. Luli's pupils contracted. He went back to the stone stele. When he saw the 4 words, Sword Intent of Dragon of Wind, his memory came back. He remembered all the words on the stele. What a mystical divine rune, Luli exclaimed to himself. He took out a pen and paper, ready to write it down. All of a sudden, his pen and paper caught on fire and were reduced to ashes. Luli was shocked. He didn't waste any more time. He could only learn on the spot, and nothing could be taken out. If he could, then so be it. If he couldn't, then he would gain nothing. Luli didn't want to waste any more time. He only had 1 year. He might as well study instead of thinking of other ideas. There were countless steles here. Maybe one of them could be beneficial to him. Luli had always been confused about the direction of his cultivation. At this stage, it would be difficult to make further progress. Saint Emperors borrowed strength in heaven and earth. Warriors that were close to the perfect realm could mobilize strength in heaven and earth. Warriors at the perfect realm could control strength in heaven and earth. Luli was cultivating his body and soul. His body could only absorb strength in heaven and earth. His soul had nothing to do with it. Therefore, Luli was very close to the perfect realm. He could defeat all the other warriors, but he couldn't make further progress. To be so close to the perfect realm, the most important thing was to have a connection with heaven and earth. He had to communicate with them and be recognized by heaven and earth. If he didn't cultivate laws and fundamental principles, how could he learn heaven and earth? How could he be recognized by heaven and earth? Therefore, he was confused. Part of the reason why he came to the immortal region was to find an answer, to find his own path. There were hundreds of thousands of steles here. Maybe some of them would be helpful to him. Look, Luli moved quickly and looked at the steles one by one. He went through more than a dozen in one go. Most of them were carved with divine skills, combat skills, and killing moves. These things were useful to Luli. Some of the killing moves could increase his abilities by 10 or 20%. But Luli didn't try to learn them. He only had 1 year. He wasn't sure if he could learn them in 1 year. When the time was up, he would have to leave. Once he left the steles, he would forget everything. What was the point of learning half of it? Therefore, Luli made up his mind. He skimmed through the steals. As long as it was divine skills, killing moves, or combat skills, he didn't look at anything. He looked at cultivation experience and comprehension. In just a couple of days, Luli had gone through hundreds of steals. 2 of them were about cultivation experience. He spent half a day at each steal, but it was pointless. Luli had to go through the steals one by one. If he was not fast enough, he wouldn't be able to finish reading the hundreds of thousands of steals in a year. There were many steals and many cultivation experiences, but they were all about fundamental principles. Most of them were about this aspect. There was nothing that Luli needed. Luli didn't know what he needed. He just felt it was useless to him. He had to go on and study the steals one by one. Half a month, 1 month, 3 months. Luli stopped today. He came across a miraculous steal. There were no words on the steal, only some symbols. The symbols formed some strange patterns. Though Luli could not understand them, he felt they were quite mysterious. Interesting. Luli read it carefully for many times. He stared at it for an hour. He seemed to have understood something. Then, he used the trace of Tao to sense it. Gradually, he noticed that the symbols were moving as if there were countless flowers, birds, fishes, and insects swimming around. Gradually, he became confused. He immersed his spirit into the steal. He really is a genius. When Luli was immersed in the steal, a man suddenly showed up behind him. It was Yun Zhongyue, the patriarch of law enforcement of the Yun family. He sighed, stroked his beard, and said, "The Xian heaven steal left by ancestor how cannot be learned unless he is talented. It all depends on this punk's luck. Can he learn the mark left by ancestor how?" Chapter 3372. Luli saw a piece of chaos and felt muddle-headed. The scenery around him was blurry. It seemed real and illusory at the same time. A mysterious and abstruse feeling pervaded the surroundings. Luli looked around in a daze, immersing himself in the marvelous feeling. He did not know what the scenery here was for, but he was sure that there must be something powerful here. It might be the Tao of a powerful warrior. Even Saint Emperors had to learn their own Tao. Luli had been searching for his own Tao for a long time, but he didn't learn anything, not any Tao. Now that he had such a good chance, he would like to try. Maybe after he learned the Tao, his abilities could be improved. Chaos, solidification, thickness, toughness. Luli sensed the chi and energy in the scenery around him, but he did not know what they were for. He could only look at them quietly, immerse himself in them, and try to sense them slowly. Time moved on. Luli felt it was slow, but it was fast. He knew that this kind of learning would go by quickly. Maybe he felt it was only an instant, but a year had passed. If he could not learn here, then he would have missed the chance to enter the ancestral land of dragon seekers. But at this moment, Luli didn't want to change. This world was mysterious. If he could sense something here, then this trip would be worthwhile. Therefore, he didn't think too much. He just stayed here and tried to sense everything in this world with his soul. In a blur, Luli sensed something, but he could not tell what it was. Not even he knew what it was. For months, 5 months, half a year, time flew by so fast that Luli didn't feel anything. He didn't know what he was seeing, either. He didn't know if this could be of any use to him. He was just like a man walking in the dark, running toward the hazy light in the distance. 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. A year was about to pass by. Luli still had no idea what he was looking for, what he was chasing, or what he was exploring. He was confused at the moment. In this chaos, he felt he was a drop in the ocean, a tiny speck. If this chaos was the Tao of heaven, then he was just a speck of dust in the chaos. For some reason, Luli was in awe of the Tao of heaven. He was even afraid and panicked. But how could he learn the Tao of heaven when he was in awe of it? If he was in awe of it and afraid of it, how could he get close to it and become one with it? That was a contradiction. Luli was conflicted as well. He didn't even dare to go on. He was afraid that the more he learned, the more horrifying the Tao of heaven would be, and the smaller he would be, and the further he would be from it. It was like the chaos in front of them. Luli felt there might be something miraculous in that chaos. Maybe, when he separated the chaos, he would find a piece of treasure. That being said, That piece of treasure could be so powerful that Lu Li could not stand it. He would be crushed to death by the might of the treasure. This was how Lu Li felt at the moment. He really wanted to push open the door in front of him, but he was afraid that after he pushed it open, there would be a terrifying world inside. Li Dao of Li was that time. This was Lu Li's mentality. Maybe it was because he was too weak. He was like a child who saw a super sword in front of him. He was afraid that he couldn't lift it up. Not only could it not help him kill the enemy, but it might also cut himself. Wait, Lu Li suddenly understood. Why did he have this feeling? He was not comprehending the heavenly Tao, but the Tao contained in the world in front of him. Why did he suddenly feel like he could not bear its weight? This is the Tao of heaven's will. It is affecting me on purpose. Lu Li understood. The Tao here was misleading him on purpose. It was trying to make him feel awe, fear, and resistance. He could not learn the Tao here. Lu Li was intrigued. Why was the Tao here releasing this feeling? Did it mean that he was very close to the truth? Did it mean that he was about to grasp the core of the Tao? Did it mean that he would be able to learn the Tao here soon? Chaos, thick, solid, vast, boundless. Many words flashed across Lu Li's mind. He had a vague understanding of the Tao here. He made up his mind. He mobilized the trace of Tao and tried to probe into the chaos. I don't care what is in there. I don't care if it will tear me to pieces. I must have a look. Lu Li's mind was filled with this crazy idea. He tried his best to probe into the chaos, to see the core of the chaos, to find the truth. He could not stand it even if his soul would be destroyed. Buzzing, right at that moment, the steel in front of Lu Li suddenly lit up. It was getting brighter and brighter. A surge of qi and energy spread out. The entire valley was shaking. Whoosh! There were a few elders guarding this place, and all of them were alarmed, and they all flew over. They saw Patriarch of Law Enforcement here. They bowed to him and then looked at the steel. One of the patriarchs said, "Patriarch of Law Enforcement, the Xin Tian steel is moving. Has this kid learned the Tao of Ancestor How? How is that possible?" "Yes." Another patriarch said, "This is the great heaven Tao, one of the most powerful Taos in the history of our race. How can human kid learn it?" The third patriarch said, "What's more, it has been less than a year. Even our family patriarch spent 15 years to learn the 6-Me Tao." Patriarch of Law Enforcement didn't say anything. He stared at the characters on the steel. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he said, "I think he has only scratched the surface. At his current realm, he cannot truly understand the great heaven Tao." Phew, the other patriarchs breathed in relief upon hearing Patriarch of Law Enforcement's words. If Lu Li really could learn the Tao in the Xian Tian steel in a year, then all the warriors of the Yin family would have to bang their heads against the wall. Just scratching the surface was nothing. After all, there was still a long way to go before one could truly understand the great heaven Tao. There were warriors in the history of the Yun family that had scratched the surface of the great heaven Tao. Unfortunately, none of them managed to learn the real great heaven Tao. The patriarchs were uncomfortable at first. They felt like their girls were being slept with by a strange man. Now that they realized it was just a touch, they felt better. In 1 year, a warrior of the Emperor realm has scratched the surface of the great heaven Tao. Patriarch of Law Enforcement exclaimed. He murmured in a voice that only he could hear, "Is it because he has the qi and energy of Tao? There is nothing special about this kid's body. He is just a warrior that cultivates his body and soul. How come he has the qi and energy of Tao? Strange, strange." Chapter 33:73. The Xian heaven steel had been glowing for more than a month, but Lu Li had not woken up. When the time was up, the patriarchs turned to Law Enforcement Patriarch. "Wake him up." Law Enforcement Patriarch waved his hand and flew out. He had been observing Lu Li for a year, and he didn't see anything wrong. He had been trying to find where Lu Li's qi and energy was. However, after such a long time, Law Enforcement Patriarch couldn't find where Lu Li's qi and energy was coming from. He just had a vague feeling that the qi and energy of Tao seemed to be coming from Lu Li's abdomen. But apart from a pellet, there was nothing there. Luli was woken up by force. The haze in front of him was gone. Gradually, the steel came into his sight. The runes on the steel stopped moving and it stopped glowing. The steel had returned to its original appearance. The other patriarchs left as well. There was only one patriarch left. He looked at Lu Li and said, "Lu, time is up. It is time for you to go out." Phew, phew, Lu Li exhaled. He felt sorry that he didn't fully understand the Tao and the steel. Law enforcement patriarch was right. Lu Li had only scratched the surface. If Lu Li had another 10 years, he believed that he could understand it completely. The Yin family was governed by an iron law. Law enforcement patriarch would keep his word. It was unprecedented that law enforcement patriarch gave Lu Li 1 year. Even if Lu Li were to beg on his knees, law enforcement patriarch would not give him more time to study. Of course, there was another way, which was for Lu Li to join the Yun family. Even if the Yun family did not give Lu Li time to come in, as long as Lu Li could show his value, he would have a chance to come in. Could Lu Li join the Yun family? Of course not. He had to go to the Mystic Armor City to find Lu Xiao Bai. Also, he didn't want to stay in the Immortal region for long. He wanted to go back to the Chaotic Star region after he finished his business. He bowed to thank the patriarch and then walked out of the dragon-seeking ground. Yinyu was waiting for him outside. Lu Li followed Yinyu back to the yard. Zishi followed him at once. Lu Li waved his hand and asked Zishi to sit down. Then he sat with his legs crossed and began to cultivate. He had comprehended a few things from the Xiantian divine steel. Many of them were vague, so he needed to stabilize them and see if he could comprehend them for a while. Lu Li had been studying for half a month, but he did not gain much. Not being in that chaotic world seemed to be more difficult. For half a month, Lu Li didn't learn anything. The things in his mind were still like the moon in the water, flowers in the mirror. He couldn't see them clearly, let alone grasp them. Sigh. Lu Li sighed helplessly. He didn't insist on it anymore. He recorded what he had learned and planned to find a chance to study it in the future. Since he couldn't comprehend it, there was no need for him to stay in Cloud King City. Lu Li thought about it and asked the steward to invite Yinyu over. Then he revealed that he was going to leave and he wanted to thank Patriarch of Law Enforcement in person. Yinyu told Lu Li to wait while he went to ask Patriarch of Law Enforcement. 2 hours later, Yinyu came and Patriarch of Law Enforcement agreed to meet Lu Li. Once again, Lu Li was touched. Patriarch of Law Enforcement was likely to be a warrior at the consummate realm. How could a warrior of this level agree to meet a warrior of the Emperor realm? Somehow, Lu Li was excited. Lu Li followed Yinyu to a manor. Yinyu showed Lu Li to the backyard, but he didn't dare to go in. He bowed and said, "Lu, go in by yourself. We don't have a right to go in here." Lu Li nodded and strode in. Patriarch of Law Enforcement was sitting under a tree, drinking tea. Lu Li walked over and bowed to Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Yun Zhongyue nodded and said, "Rise and sit." There was a stump across the table from Yun Zhongyue. But Yun Zhongyue was hesitant to sit down. He said with respect, "Lord, you are a powerful warrior. How can I sit in front of you? I told you to sit, so sit." Yun Zhongyue said with a straight face. Lu Li had to sit down. Patriarch of Law Enforcement pointed to the tea and said, "Pour yourself some tea." Lu Li was nervous. This was a warrior at the consummate realm. The Grim Reaper was so powerful, but there wasn't one at the consummate realm. Yun Zhongyue was a man at the peak of the world. How could he sit with Lu Li and drink tea with him? Powerful warriors were proud. They wouldn't lower their pride easily. Take Lu Li, for example. He could be friendly, but he wouldn't lose his identity. Would the Grim Reaper, a warrior at the Sixth Tribulation, lower his pride and sit with him as an equal? Therefore, Yun Zhongyue was nervous. Fortunately, he had always been brave. He poured himself a cup of tea, took a sip, and said, "I am here for 2 reasons. First, I want to thank you for your fairness and justice. I also want to thank you for allowing me to go to the ancestral land of dragons. Second, I am here to say goodbye. I need to go to the eastern region." "Okay." Yun Zhongyue nodded and said, "Did you find anything at the ancestral land of dragons?" "Yes." Lu Li didn't hide anything. He nodded and said, "I learned something from steel, but I didn't understand everything. I just scratched the surface. I can tell that it is a very powerful Tao. Even though I only scratched the surface, I am satisfied. Thank you, Lord. Luli didn't hide anything. After a moment of silence, Patriarch of Law Enforcement asked, "If I let you stay in there, will you?" Huh? Luli was taken aback. Then he smiled bitterly to himself. Yun Zhongyue's words were vague, but his meaning was clear. He was extending an olive branch on behalf of the Yun family, trying to recruit Luli. There is no such thing as gratuitous hatred or gratuitous love in this world. Especially since the Yun family was established by law, they naturally could not act recklessly. Allowing an outsider to enter the dragon-seeking ancestral land consecutively? How could the martial artists of the clan be convinced by you? Once the clan's laws were broken, the Yun family's foundation will be damaged. Naturally, Yun Zhongyue wouldn't do such a thing. Therefore, if Luli wanted to continue cultivating there, he had to join the Yun family. Don't say that Moon in the Cloud wanted Luli's help, or that he needed Luli to do something for him. What did he need Luli to do? The person sitting across from him was likely to be at the consummate level. What did he not have? If Luli could do it, how could he not do it? Luli didn't know why Moon in Yin Zhongyue valued him so much, but he still chose to refuse. He had joined the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper was his home. His family and friends were there too. He could not betray the Grim Reaper. He only thought about it for a while before he said, "Thank you, Lord, for your kindness. I, Luli, am grateful. It is a pity that I have to go to the eastern region. If there is a chance in the future, I will come back to repay your kindness." Luli's words were tactful, but his meaning was clear. He could not join the Yun family now. As for the future, it would be up to fate. Moon and Yun Zhongyue didn't show much emotion. He just nodded and said, "Go. The eastern region is dangerous. Be careful. If you have nowhere else to go, I have a place for you here at any time." Luli had been flying close to the mountain so that he wouldn't be a big target. If he were to fly at a high altitude, he would be easily detected by the ferocious beasts and immortal beasts. Luli was lucky this time. He didn't run into any danger for more than 2 months. He didn't know how far he had traveled. If everything went well, it would take him at most 1.5 years to reach the city of Mystic Armor. Lu Xiaobai was still in the Mystic Armor City. Although he was fighting with the son of a realm king in the north, it was only the forces below him that were fighting. He didn't show up. It was said that he was in seclusion. Luli secretly prayed that Lu Xiaobai wouldn't run around. He didn't want Lu Xiaobai to go to the battlefield in the north after he went through so much trouble to get to the city of Mystic Armor. If that happened, Luli would be exhausted to death. The peaceful days came to an end after 3 days. When Luli was passing by a mountain, he didn't notice anything unusual. However, as Luli was passing by, a ray of brown light suddenly shot out from the mountain. The light expanded and enveloped Luli in. Zishi was still asleep. Luli immediately released the dragon transformation and sensed around, ready to enter the Dharma realm at any time. This time, he sensed carefully and finally found something unusual. There was a formation in the mountain, and deep inside the formation, there was the breath of dead spirits. He looked around and saw many skeletons scattered on the mountain. This was a common situation in the immortal realm, but at this moment, it felt unusual. A cold and strange laughter rang out. That voice seemed to be drifting over from the heavens. It was very ethereal. After laughing for a while, the laughter continued. "Boy, now that you have entered my life and death formation, you should give up struggling. Become my slave, and I will grant you eternal life." The voice was still ethereal, but it didn't come from the sky. It seemed to be coming from thousands of miles underground. Luli snorted, "Stop playing tricks. Come out and fight me." Luli released a hand seal. A huge silver dragon smashed to the mountain. If it were an average mountain, the dragon would have smashed a deep hole in it. However, the entire mountain only trembled a little. Some dust flew up from the surface. Otherwise, it was not damaged. The entire mountain had a powerful formation. It was not easy for Lu Li to crack it with a casual attack. That cold voice came again. "Punk, You want to crack my formation of life and death? Ridiculous. Since you are so stubborn, then go to hell. As soon as the voice finished speaking, the entire mountain glowed again. Then, a cave appeared in the mountain. Many skeletons walked out. The skeletons all had a black glare. Their eyes were green, and there was a black liquid on their bones. Clearly, there was poison. Roar, roar, all kinds of skeletons swarmed over. They bounced up from the ground. They were so fast that they reached Lu Li in an instant. Lu Li waved his claws and scratched at the skeletons. As for the poison on the skeletons, he didn't care. Boom! Lu Li's claws were sharp. Average Saint Kings could tear them apart easily. The skeletons could not stand it and were crushed by Lu Li. The skeletons fell down and turned into bones. However, after the bones fell down, they automatically reassembled themselves. Another skeleton came charging at Lu Li. Soon, Lu Li was surrounded by a dense crowd of skeletons. No matter how fast he was, the skeletons were growing faster than him. There were more coming out from the cave. Lu Li did not panic. He increased his strength. Every time he attacked, he could crush a skeleton into dust so that they could not reassemble. He wanted to see how many skeletons there were for him to kill. Hiss, hiss, the monster underground once again let out a creepy cry. In my life and death array, the dead spirits are endless. Moreover, the more you attack, the greater the impact on your soul. It won't be long before you become a lunatic. Punk, you have a good body. I will turn your body into a corpse king. By then, I will have one more warrior. Ha ha ha. Lu Li snorted and dashed downward. When he was underground, Blood Fairy snuck out from his body and went underground without a sound. If he could crack the formation, not only could he leave, but he could also drag out the Asmodean underground and tear him apart. Chapter 3375. There was a certain risk for Blood Fairy to enter. What if the old demon lurking underground used a magic circle to strangle Blood Fairy? However, if Lu Li could not break the formation, he would not be able to find the old freak or kill him, let alone leave. He told Blood Fairy to be careful and come out as soon as she sensed danger. After all, the skeletons could not kill him for the time being. There were many skeletons, and they were fast, but their attacks were weak. The skeletons mainly relied on poison. Lu Li, on the other hand, was not afraid of poison. No matter how strong the poison was, he could absorb it into his dantian. Master, don't worry, Blood Fairy quickly replied. The spell formation in this mountain is very complicated. I will hide in it. As long as the spell formation is not broken, he will not be able to attack me. If the spell formation is broken, I will come out immediately. Lu Li was relieved. Blood Fairy was a soul. As long as the demon did not have strong soul attacks, he could not hurt her. She could blend in with the formation. It would be hard for her to attack the demon. Lu Li continued to fight against the skeletons. At the same time, he attacked the mountain to distract the demon. Lu Li could not tell if the demon had noticed Blood Fairy. He had been silent, but the skeletons kept coming out. Moreover, the skeletons that came out were a bit stronger. Each of the skeletons that came out was shining with a dark gold light, and their auras were terrifying. Every time a skeleton waved its claws, there would be a shrill noise that could crack rocks. Half an hour passed, and Blood Fairy spoke again. Master, this formation isn't complicated. I'll be able to break it in another hour. Be prepared then. There is a pool down there filled with poison. The demon is in there, and the skeletons came out from there. Lu Li was confident. While he was attacking, he was ready to release thunderous attacks at any time. An hour later, the demon finally felt something was off. He shouted, Punk, you are secretly cracking the formation? You're courting death. Swish, swish. The entire mountain trembled. Following that, a dark air began to rise. Lu Li was about to ask when Blood Fairy said, Master, don't worry. He is just releasing some toxic air. It will not affect me. I am about to crack the formation. Lu Li began to move his claws. He crushed the incoming skeletons one by one. Even if the skeletons were several times stronger, he would still be able to crush them easily. His claws could easily rip through mid-Saint Kings right now. He could even rip through Saint armaments and armors. His physical body was already very strong, but he had reconstructed it in the eye of destruction. His current physical body was formed from top-grade immortal fruits, destructive energy, and large amounts of origin energy. His current physical body was equivalent to a heavenly treasure or divine embryo. It was at least 10 times stronger than his previous physical body. "Master, we are cracking," Blood Fairy said. Then, Blood Fairy dashed out in a blur. Luli consumed a drop of purple divine liquid at once. Afterward, he scanned the area with his powerful senses and locked onto an old demon lurking in the pool. He sensed the demon and discovered that he was only a late Saint King, so he sneered. Luli had guessed that this demon was not very close to the absolute realm. If he was, he would have smashed Luli to death. Why would he need to resort to such sneaky tricks? After Luli consumed the purple divine liquid, his soul became 10 times stronger. He released his formation skills. Streaks of powerful soul attacks swarmed in and entered the old man's mind in an instant. As expected, with the purple divine liquid, Luli could kill any Saint King at the later stage of the Saint realm, or one that was very close to the absolute realm. Making sure that the demon's soul was sealed, Luli dashed into the mountain. Using his claws, he cracked the mountain open. Without the protection of the formation, the mountain was no different from mud to Luli. He dashed into the pond. The pond was filled with poison, but it was not a problem for Luli. The swirl in the Dharma field spun, and the poison was sucked in. Luli grabbed the demon's head. He was going to crush it in the next second. Perhaps, under the threat of death, the demon came to his senses. He sensed a fatal danger and knew that he would die the next second. He yelled at once, "Lord, please spare my life. Anything is negotiable as long as you don't kill me." Luli was surprised. He decided not to kill the demon. He said coldly, "I will give you 3 sentences. Convince me and give me a reason not to kill you." Luli's soul was weak, but he could consume 2 drops of purple divine liquid. Also, as soon as he moved his claws, the demon would die in an instant. Luli had the trace of Tao. Nothing the demon did could escape Luli's detection. The demon sensed the strong killing intent from Luli. He knew that Luli was not joking. The demon pondered for the time, for half an incense stick to burn before he said, "Lord, I am willing to give you all my wealth." Luli sneered, "Ha! When you are dead, everything you have will be mine." The demon thought about it and said again, "Lord, I can tell you about a peerless treasure ground. Only I know of that place. It is very likely to be a place where a warrior at the consummate realm ascends to immortality. I am not strong enough, so I can only explore the periphery." Luli still sneered and said, "Not interested. Besides, who knows if it is a treasure ground or a dangerous place?" The demon smiled bitterly. He knew what Luli wanted. This time, he pondered for the time for half an incense stick to burn and said, "Lord, I can serve you for 100 years. Of course, if I encounter a fatal danger, allow me to escape and return my freedom." Luli nodded slightly and said, "No need for 100 years. Just serve me for 10 years. Maybe not even 10 years. If there is a fatal danger, I can let you go. But you must give me your seal of soul, or else I will not believe you." "Seal of soul?" The demon was startled and then immediately realized. His face turned gloomy. He thought about it and said, "Lord, you're not trying to trick me, are you? My soul is under your control. If you don't let me go, won't I be under your control forever?" "Ha ha!" Luli sneered and said, "I can kill you in an instant. Do you think I will like you? You are neither a human nor a ghost. It is degrading for me to take you with me all the time. If you're still worried, I will make an almighty blood oath. If you say any more nonsense, you can go to hell." "Okay, fine." The demon bit his teeth. 10 years was too short time. Luli also had powerful abilities. It would not be shameful to follow Luli. Following Luli's instructions, the demon condensed the seal of soul and sent it into Luli's head. Luli integrated the demon's seal of soul and only let go of the demon when there was a spiritual connection with him. He said in a cold voice, "Pack up and come with me. I am going to the city of mystic armor. When we get there, I will set you free." City of mystic armor. The demon smiled bitterly and said carefully, "Lord, it is hundreds of millions of miles to the city of mystic armor. There will be many dangers along the way. Are you sure you want to go to the city of mystic armor?" "Cut the bullshit." Luli glanced at the demon and said, "If it were not for the fact that you have the means to control the undead and entangle the enemy at the critical moment, do you think I would spare your life?" Chapter 3376. The old freak had forgotten his own name. He called himself the Ghost Taoist. He collected all the venom in the pond and many bones in the pond. Luli was shocked. There were at least billions of bones in the pond. How many corpses did the Ghost Taoist collect? After the Ghost Taoist collected all the corpses, Luli left with him. The Ghost Taoist's speed was not bad. After traveling for a while, he released Zishi. Zishi didn't care too much about the addition of the old freak in the team. She just asked Luli a few questions and then left it alone. The Ghost Taoist was also surprised that Luli suddenly let out a little girl. The more they went, the more surprised he became. Zishi had a horrifying intuition. She could tell if there were enemies, ferocious beasts, or immortal beasts ahead. Under the guidance of Zishi, the journey was very safe. They didn't run into any warriors or powerful immortal beasts for 3 days. On the 4th day, something even more surprising happened to the Ghost Taoist. Because a group of warriors was fighting on the left, Luli was forced to fly to the right. Unfortunately, there was an immortal beast lurking there. The Ghost Taoist thought that Luli and Zishi would take a detour, but they just flew over. When the Ghost Taoist was about to make a move, Zishi suppressed the immortal beast easily. Luli didn't even look at the immortal beast. He was calm from beginning to end. There was a young man with extraordinary fighting abilities and a cute little girl. The young man was only at the Emperor realm on the surface, but his comprehensive abilities were very close to the consummate realm. The little girl looked weaker, but not only did she have strong senses, she could even suppress the horrifying immortal beast easily. The fighting ability of this immortal beast could be compared to a powerful warrior that was very close to the consummate realm. The Ghost Taoist suddenly couldn't see through this world. He had lived for more than 100,000 years and basically spent all his time in the immortal region. He was experienced and knowledgeable. This was the first time he had seen such a strange situation. Zishi went back to rest after half a month. Luli took the Ghost Taoist forward. He was a little faster than the Ghost Taoist, but his speed was not fast, so the Ghost Taoist could easily keep up. The Ghost Taoist was amazed by Zishi's horrifying probing ability. Luli's ability was much stronger than the Ghost Taoist's. The Ghost Taoist wondered if he had been living like a dog all these years. The journey was still very smooth. Although they occasionally encountered immortal beasts, they were all easily suppressed by Zishi. The Ghost Taoist had thought that Luli would need his help along the way. Little did he know that Luli had been following Luli and doing nothing. It was more like Luli was protecting him. It wasn't that he hadn't traversed through the immortal realm before, especially in the eastern region. He had stayed here for 100,000 years, and he understood the dangers here all too well. He had never traveled as easily as Luli did. After another 17 days, Luli and the others were forced to stop because there was a chaotic battle ahead. It was not a battle between several warriors or two forces, but a battle between dozens of forces. When Luli and the others sensed that there was a battle up ahead, they wanted to go around it. However, after they went around for a while, they realized that the battle was still going on. Then, Luli continued to take a detour and found that there was still a chaotic battle ahead. "Master, can I go and have a look?" The Ghost Taoist found that he hadn't made any contributions along the way, so he volunteered. Luli frowned and said, "There are so many powerful warriors up ahead. What if you get involved in the battle?" "I don't have to do it myself." The Ghost Taoist said with pride, "I can't control undead spirits, so I don't have to do it myself. I can control some undead spirits to do it." Also, I can control those dead bodies and sense the situation nearby through them. Okay, off you go. Luli waved his hand, and the ghost Taoist floated out. He was gone for more than a day before he came back like a ghost. He reported what he found to Luli. There were dozens of forces fighting in a chaotic battle. Smoke was rising from the battle. There were battlefields everywhere, and there were massacres everywhere. The scope of the battle could not be seen at all. The only thing was that it was huge. Dozens of forces fighting in a chaotic battle. Luli was confused. There must be a reason for the battle, right? It is understandable that a few forces are going crazy, but it is hard to understand why dozens of forces are going crazy together and fighting in a chaotic battle. I think this is the reason. The ghost Taoist explained, there are 3 super forces in this world. The rest of the forces are affiliated to the 3 forces. The 3 forces are all fighting for a treasured land, so they order their subordinate forces to fight for it. Gradually, it has become a chaotic battle between dozens of forces. The battle has been going on for more than half a year. How long will it take to go around? Luli asked with a frown. Maybe it will take another half a year. The ghost Taoist said, but there are many battles in the immortal region. Maybe when we go around, there's a battle going on there as well. Do we have to keep going around? What about before? Luli squinted at the ghost Taoist and said, don't you often travel around the eastern region? How did you go across such an area before? Master, the ghost Taoist said, if there's a chaotic battle, I don't dare to move. I will go back and find a place to hide. I have sneaked through the center of the battlefield several times, but I almost died many times. In the middle of the battlefield, Luli touched his nose and said, there are so many powerful warriors who are infinitely close to the consummate realm. It is a miracle that you can survive until now. No, the ghost Taoist laughed, but his old, ugly, and tattooed face made him look especially scary. He said, warriors who are infinitely close to the peak level basically won't attack us. Even if they find us, we'll just ignore them. Powerful warriors of this level will not lower themselves to attack average Saint Emperors unless it is a special case. Well, that is true, Luli nodded. It seemed to make sense. It was the same in the battle at the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries. Powerful warriors infinitely close to the consummate realm would not attack Saint Emperors and average warriors unless there was a special case. It would be a disgrace to their status. Luli's eyes flickered. He thought for a while and said, so, you suggest that I go through this battlefield directly? The ghost Taoist didn't answer. He cupped his fists and said, I'm just telling you the situation. Master, please decide for yourself. I don't have the guts to say anything. Luli thought about it. This was the real Eastern region, right? There would be more and more situations like this. Would he have to keep going around? Would he have to go around the entire Eastern region? Go! Luli made up his mind. He had the stealth skill. As long as warriors infinitely close to the consummate realm did not attack him, then he would be safe. If he could not do it, then he would enter the Dharma realm. A warrior must have the courage to face death. If he did not even have the courage to face death, then what was he doing in the immortal region? Wouldn't it be better for him to go back to the chaotic star region and live a simple life? Let's go. Luli waved his hand and led the ghost Taoist into the Dharma realm. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, hundreds of warriors were fighting. The sky was torn apart. The battle was fierce. Third Master. Chapter 3377. Luli put Zishi away. When he was close to the battlefield, he asked, do you have stealth skills of your own? If there isn't, then I'll take you away. My art of concealment is infinitely close to that of a martial artist below the consummate level. The ghost Taoist was doubtful. Luli didn't show any stealth abilities before. Therefore, the ghost Taoist was wondering if Luli was bluffing. Luli was not giving an order. After some hesitation, the ghost Taoist said, Master, I have some stealth skills of my own. How about I take a walk? If I can't do it, can you take me away? Sure. Luli didn't want to waste time. If the ghost Taoist was besieged, Luli would save him if he could. If not, Luli wouldn't do anything. The ghost Taoist was courting death. Luli was not a savior. Luli suddenly vanished. The ghost Taoist was taken aback. He used psychic power to check the surroundings, but he could not find Lu Li's exact location. Luckily, he had a spiritual connection with Lu Li, so he knew Lu Li was nearby. It was just that he could not find Lu Li, God. This time, the ghost Taoist was completely convinced. Lu Li was not bluffing. He did have incredible skills. An idea came to his mind. Was Lu Li a young master of a super family? Otherwise, how could he have such horrifying abilities at such a young age and so many skills? The ghost Taoist regretted. He should have asked Lu Li to take him away. Now that he had said what he wanted, he was too embarrassed to beg Lu Li. A dark glare came out from the ghost Taoist. Then he was enveloped by the dark haze. Gradually, the haze dispersed, and so did the ghost Taoist. Lu Li was standing next to him. He sensed carefully and nodded. The ghost Taoist's stealth skill was not bad. Lu Li could only faintly sense the air of death. This was a battlefield. Too many warriors had passed away. Without careful observation, the ghost Taoist's chi and energy could not be sensed. Stay close, Lu Li said. The ghost Taoist had a rough idea of where Lu Li was. It seemed that Lu Li had strengthened the spiritual connection between them on purpose, so the ghost Taoist could sense Lu Li's location clearly. Lu Li floated forward. He sneaked to the edge of the battlefield. He didn't even dare to check the situation. He just used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings. As long as there were no martial artists nearby, he would not care. He would just move stealthily. Master, the ghost Taoist suddenly said to Lu Li, try to stay close to the corpses. I can use the air of death to hide us. Okay, Lu Li nodded. He tried to stay as close to the corpses as he could. As he expected, the chi and energy of the corpses became stronger. It might be able to cover up his chi and energy. You are good, Lu Li nodded. There must be a reason why the ghost Taoist could survive in the eastern region for so many years. Lu Li and the ghost Taoist walked through the center of the battlefield one after the other. Taoist and Taoist. Li and Xian and Lu Li and the Taoist. Li and the Shi's ghost were. Lu Li and the ghost Taoist were like two loaches, moving quickly in the quagmire of the battlefield. The average warriors could not see them. As for the warriors close to the absolute completion, they were either fighting in the sky or staying here. Nobody paid attention to Lu Li and the ghost Taoist. Maybe some warriors close to the absolute completion did see them, but didn't do anything. After all, Lu Li and the ghost Taoist were not assassinating. They were just sneaking around. Just like that, Lu Li and the ghost Taoist left the battlefield without a hitch. They were on tenterhooks along the way. They both sensed that some warriors close to the absolute completion had sensed them. Fortunately, they didn't do anything. Lu Li and the ghost Taoist stopped after they walked past the battlefield. They didn't rest for long, fearing that the battlefield would shift to them. They moved on after the time for one incense stick to burn. However, after 4 hours, they found themselves in another battlefield, just as I thought. Lu Li sighed. There were battlefields everywhere in this damn place. Luckily, they didn't take detours. Otherwise, they would have been wasting their time if there were battles everywhere. Let's go. Lu Li moved on. He realized that the ghost Taoist's energy of death was of some use. At least, it made Lu Li and the ghost Taoist look like wretched thieves. Warriors close to the absolute completion of the battlefield would not bother to attack them. The two entered the battlefield. Again, they walked along the edge of the battlefield. At first, everything went well. None of the warriors noticed them, and no powerful warriors attacked them. However, after traveling for an hour, a few beams of light suddenly shot toward them. They weren't being attacked on purpose, but rather, a few Saint Emperors had been chasing a Saint Emperor and had just happened to be flying in their direction. Unfortunately for them, the Saint Emperor dynasty hadn't been able to stop them. Take care of yourself, Lu Li said. Then, he entered the realm of magic. He could survive the attacks, but he would be exposed. He would be hunted down by a group of warriors. If he fought back, he might attract the attention of warriors close to the absolute completion of the realm of magic, which would be troublesome. Therefore, Lu Li believed he could hide in the realm of magic and come out later. Then he could sneak away. As soon as he entered the Dharma realm, the ghost Taoist felt that he had suddenly lost his spiritual connection with him. The ghost Taoist was secretly surprised. He didn't have time to think too much at the moment. He waved his hands, and many of the nearby corpses rolled up to cover him. Then he burrowed into the ground. Boom! Those corpses were blasted away, and many of them were blasted into pieces. Some of these corpses were Saint Emperors, and they were very tough, so not many of the shockwaves hit the ghost Taoist. The ghost Taoist's fighting strength was also very strong. This kind of attack was nothing to him. The ghost Taoist was discovered, especially when he used his corpse to block the attack. This angered the two Saint Emperors. Two of them immediately charged underground to kill the ghost Taoist. The ghost Taoist didn't dare to start a fight. He rushed out of the ground. His body emitted a black corpse chi. His speed reached the extreme, madly fleeing into the distance. The more he acted like this, the more conspicuous he became. At that moment, many Saint Emperors in front of him started to obstruct him. The ghost Taoist was bombarded until he cried out and fled pathetically. Luli snuck out after a while. He was amused to see the ghost Taoist being chased by dozens of Saint Emperors. He quickly hid himself and chased after the ghost Taoist. If the ghost Taoist could save him, Luli would lend him a helping hand. If the ghost Taoist was killed, then he wouldn't care so much. After traveling for almost an hour, Luli left the battlefield. The ghost Taoist was still being chased up ahead, but there were only 8 or 9 Saint Emperors chasing after him. There was only one late Saint Emperor among them. It's about time. Luli revealed himself and yelled, "My friends, we're just passing by. There's no need to fight to the death. Let people go when possible." Third Master. Chapter 3378. Now that they were far away from the battlefield, Luli had nothing to worry about. He was just a Saint King at the later stage. If he could not deal with him, then he would have to resort to violence. Ha ha ha. Luli's words made the Saint Kings laugh. An emperor was teaching a bunch of Saint Kings a lesson. They found it hilarious. One of the Saint Kings looked at Luli coldly and said, "Bastard, get down on your knees and call me Grandpa, and I will spare your life. Or else I will skin you. Do you believe me?" "What's the point?" Another Saint King said, "If you don't get down on your knees and call me Grandpa, I will pull out his soul and put it into a beast. He will have to linger in that beast for the rest of his life." Luli snorted. Then he released the dragon transformation. His chi and energy covered up the sky. Pointing to the two Saint Emperors who were talking, Luli said, "Come on, you two. Skin me and extract my soul." Whoosh! The two Saint Kings were enraged. They were not worried, even though Luli had changed his form. They rushed over and attacked Luli from the left and the right. Whoosh! Luli dashed away and fended off the attack from the warrior on the left. At the same time, he reached for the warrior on the right. With two muffled sounds, Luli was cut on his back. Some scales on his back fell off, and there was some blood coming out of it. Apart from that, he was unharmed. The Saint King in front of Luli was in a miserable state. Luli used one of his claws to stop the Saint King's weapon and tore off his arm with the other. The Saint King screamed and was about to run away when Luli's eyes glowed. Then the Saint King stopped moving. Then Luli's sharp claws reached out and crushed the Saint King's head. The Saint King was stunned. Luli turned around and his eyes glowed. The Saint King could not move anymore. Then Luli moved and crushed the Saint King's head as well. Ow! In the time for one breath, Luli had killed two Saint Kings in an instant. The other Saint Kings were taken aback. How could an emperor be so powerful? "Let's work together and kill him first." The late Saint King roared. They stopped chasing the ghost Taoist and returned to kill Luli. However, just as they turned around, they discovered that a thick black fog had emerged from the ground and enveloped them. Following that, countless skeletons rushed out from the ground and madly shot towards them. The ghost Taoist attacked and cooperated with Luli. The skeletons that rushed out from below were not powerful, but they could stall them. Moreover, the black fog was highly toxic. If one stayed in it for too long, they would be poisoned. Xiao. Luli charged into the poisonous mist and began a massacre. Only a single late Saint King posed any threat to him. The other Saint Kings posed no threat to him at all. He used the purple godly elixir and locked onto the late Saint King and began attacking. The late Saint King's soul was not too strong. After using the purple godly elixir, the late Saint King would not be able to withstand it. Luli felt that it was not safe, so he used the super divine elixir of destruction when attacking. The super destruction god liquid was formed from the condensation of the power of destruction. Its might was extremely terrifying. The late Saint King was unable to withstand it. His head was directly corroded and he died instantly. Run! The other Saint Emperors were frightened. How were they supposed to fight? Their most powerful warrior had been killed in an instant. If they did not run, their ending would be the same. Woo, woo, while they were trying to run, more and more skeletons surged out from below, covering an area with a radius of 300 miles. If they wanted to run, they would have to kill their way out. Would Luli give him the chance to do so? If he could kill a late Saint King, he could kill the other Saint Emperors in one move. With the help of the Ghost Taoist, Luli killed the remaining Saint Emperors in the time for a few breaths. Go into my interspatial artifact. This time, Luli gave the order directly. The Ghost Taoist put away the skeletons at once, and then snuck into Luli's interspatial artifact. Luli left quickly. This place was some distance away from the battlefield. However, with so many dead warriors, what if they attracted the attention of a warrior who was infinitely close to the absolute realm? Therefore, after Luli snuck away for thousands of miles, he went into the Dharma realm at once and came out after a few days. He stayed in the Dharma realm with peace of mind. After 4 or 5 days, he sensed the situation outside. It was quiet outside. Luli came out after making sure that it was safe and snuck away. This time, it was a smooth journey. There were no powerful warriors on his trail. Luli had it easy. Half a day later, another battle broke out. Luli moved on from the edge of the battlefield. It was a smooth journey. It took him more than half a day to go across the battlefield. As soon as he left the battlefield, he saw some huge battleships coming. Clearly, they were here to help. Luli hid on the side, keeping a low profile. Right at that moment, a strand of psychic power scanned over Luli's head and then came back to him. Buzzing, above the void, a hand appeared. A surge of horrifying energy spread out. But the hand did not come down. Instead, it trembled. Then, the space trembled and Luli came out. Go and take down the spy. A cold voice was heard. The battleship flew on. The hand disappeared, but more than a dozen Saint Emperors came down from the battleship. Almost all of them were at the middle stage of the Saint Emperor, and one was at the later stage. I'm not a spy. Lords, don't kill me. Luli shouted in fear. Then, he used the dragon transformation and ran away at a horrifying speed. Not long after Luli ran away, a ray of sword chi whooshed over and aimed at his back. Boom! Some of the scales on Luli's back were blown off. Blood spilled out. Luli shouted again, Lords, I am not a spy. Don't kill me. Boom, boom, boom. What answered Luli were the sounds of attacks. Then his back was blasted into pieces. It was a horrible sight to look at. He seemed to be badly wounded, but his speed was not affected. Instead, he sped up. In a time for dozens of breaths, Luli had covered hundreds of thousands of miles. Finally, he felt relieved. If that warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm had attacked him, he would have lost his life there. Luli had been wounded all this time. He had pretended to be weak on purpose so that the warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm would not notice him. Now that he was so far away, the warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm would not be able to sense what was going on here. Luli had survived. Luli stopped running. He stood where he was. With a glare from his interspatial artifact, the Ghost Taoist came out. Luli said with a cold smile, Did you have a good time just now? Now, it is our turn to let you have fun. Buzzing, the Ghost Taoist emitted a dark air that enveloped the space nearby. The Ghost Taoist sneered. You are courting death. How dare you go after my master? You will all stay. Chapter 3379. Of the dozen Saint Kings, 3 were at the late stage, and the rest were at the middle stage. But Luli didn't care. Even without the help of the Ghost Taoist, he could kill the dozen Saint Kings. Not to mention that the Ghost Taoist was also at the late stage and had the help of so many skeletons. The black haze enveloped all the powerful warriors. Countless skeletons came out and surrounded the dozen Saint Kings. The skeletons were not particularly strong, but they had one thing in common. They were poisoned. The more skeletons there were, the harder it would be for Lu Li to break out of the encirclement. They could be easily separated, allowing Lu Li to kill them one by one. Lu Li was not afraid of the poison at all, so there was no suspense. Though he was exhausted, he still killed all the Saint Kings with all his might. The Saint Kings were dumbfounded. Hearing the miserable cries, they felt they had seen ghosts. Lu Li was only an Emperor Realm warrior. How could he be wounded by them? How could he be so strong all of a sudden? There were Saint Kings dying almost every second. After killing all the Saint Kings, Lu Li put away the Ghost Taoist and fled as fast as he could. He entered the realm of Dharma after running for hundreds of thousands of miles. Lu Li stayed in the realm of Dharma for a whole month before he came out and continued his journey. He was very careful along the way, fearing that warriors infinitely close to the absolute realm would come after him. Fortunately, after a couple of days, Lu Li didn't see any powerful warriors coming after him. Lu Li was relieved and pressed on. 3 days later, there was another battle ahead. It was still a tangled battle between 3 forces. Warriors were everywhere, and it was a mess. High up in the sky, there were powerhouses who were infinitely close to the consummate level fighting. Lu Li moved forward with trepidation, fearing that the powerhouse who was infinitely close to the consummate level would casually release an attack that would instantly kill him. Fortunately, that didn't happen. The warriors infinitely close to the absolute realm were fighting fiercely. They didn't care about what was going on down there. Soldiers against soldiers, generals against generals, kings against kings. Why would a group of kings care about the soldiers and generals below? Unless the situation changed drastically, they wouldn't even look. After more than a day, Lu Li successfully passed through the battlefield. He let Zixi and the Ghost Taoist out. He wanted to rest and let Zixi scout the way and the Ghost Taoist protect him. During this time, he was highly stressed. He was under too much pressure. After 3.5 days, Taoist Ghost suddenly stopped, looked to the left, and said, "Master, Flame Emperor Mountain is ahead." What happened to Flame Emperor Mountain? Lu Li asked with curiosity. He took out the map and took a look. The Flame King Mountain was marked here, and it was marked as a dangerous place. "Master, do you remember the treasure land I mentioned before?" The Ghost Taoist explained, "I once entered the Flame Emperor Mountain and found a very hidden entrance. I suspect that it's a place where a consummate expert ascends to immortality. However, it's too dangerous inside. I can go deep inside." "So it's here?" Lu Li nodded. The Ghost Taoist did say that in the beginning. Back then, Lu Li thought the Ghost Taoist was talking nonsense and trying to trick him into going there to die. He didn't expect such a place to really exist. At this moment, the Ghost Taoist didn't dare to lie to him, because if he died, the Ghost Taoist wouldn't be able to live either. Lu Li thought for a while and said, "Tell me the details." The Ghost Taoist told him everything he knew. After listening, Lu Li believed the Ghost Taoist's judgment. It was very likely that this was a place where consummate experts ascended to immortality. At the very least, it was a treasure land refined by a consummate expert. However, it was really dangerous inside. Even the Ghost Taoist could only go to the outermost layer. He could sense that there were at least 3 layers inside. If he tried to force his way into the second layer, there was a 70% chance that he would die. He was a late Saint King, but he didn't dare to enter the second layer. Only those infinitely close to consummate could enter. If there was a third layer, then even those infinitely close to consummate could be in danger. Therefore, it was very likely that this was a realm refined by consummate experts. "Never mind, I'm not going." Lu Li shook his head. This place was too dangerous. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to come out after entering. It was better not to take the risk. His main goal in coming to the immortal region was to find Little White. He was close to his destination now, so he didn't want to complicate matters. All right. The ghost Taoist's eyes revealed a trace of lingering fear. He sighed and said, "If you don't reach the realm infinitely close to consummate, it's best not to go in. It is indeed very easy to die inside. It's a pity that we don't have the fortune to enjoy this supreme treasure land. Let's go." Luli didn't have too many regrets. There were so many treasure lands in the immortal region. Everyone wanted to go in and obtain the treasures inside. They all wanted to comprehend the powerful gist of laws and Tao inside. However, they also had to think about their own strength. Not to mention that most warriors couldn't obtain anything inside. There were also countless warriors who died inside. Zishi had been listening all along. After listening, she said, "We really shouldn't go in. The entrance that the ghost Taoist said was very hidden is actually not hidden. During this period of time, there's so many forces fighting here. It is impossible not to find it. It was even possible that the reason for these forces to wage war was to fight for this treasure land. If we go in, we'll be walking into a trap. Let's go around." Hearing Zishi's words, Luli specially ordered them to go around. If the Flame Emperor Mountain was a treasure land, there must be many powerful warriors there. It would be safer to go around. They went around to the south. After half a day, Zishi's expressions changed. She said, "There are some powerful warriors flying over. Brother Lu, be careful. Go in." Luli put Zishi and the ghost Taoist into the interspatial artifact at once. However, before he could go into the realm of magic, for people flew over quickly and arrived here. Luli didn't dare to move. He pretended to be shivering and squatted on the ground, looking up in fear. 3 powerful warriors were chasing one. For streaks of psychic power glanced over him. Fortunately, none of the powerful warriors paid attention to him. Soon, the 4 powerful warriors flew to the distance. Luli breathed in relief. Whoosh! When Luli was about to leave, a gust of wind came from the sky behind him. It was aimed at Luli. Luli was taken aback. Was this powerful warrior a pain in the ass? How could he attack a warrior who seemed to be at the Emperor realm? That being said, the attack did not seem to be strong. The warrior must have thought that Luli was really at the Emperor realm. Therefore, the warrior attacked casually, trying to crush Luli like an ant. Luli felt he was being belittled. He mobilized the strange energy in his body and punched. With a horrifying sound of explosion, Luli was smashed away. The hills nearby were flattened as well. Luli was smashed away for thousands of miles. His fist was injured as well. He didn't dare to stay any longer. He regretted it and hoped that the powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm would not be angry. Whoosh! It was too late for him to regret. From behind him came a noise. That powerful warrior had come back. He didn't even go after his enemy. Instead, he was going after Luli. T, this is too much. Luli complained to himself. He didn't dare to put on a brave front anymore. He didn't think too much. Staying alive was more important. He dashed into the realm of magic and vanished on the spot. Chapter 3380. What? Soon, that powerful warrior came. To his surprise, he had lost sight of Luli. He circled around and then made a brazen move, blasting an area with a radius of thousands of miles. This is strange. The powerful warrior stood in midair. His well-defined face was filled with surprise. This was the first time he had encountered such a strange situation. Just now, he felt something was wrong with Luli, which was why he decided to launch an attack. However, Luli surprised him again and again. He thought for a while and expanded his search range to an area with a radius of thousands of miles. He would not believe it. He would not be happy until he found Luli. Also, Luli had such a strange stealth skill. He might be a high-level enemy scout. Killing Luli would be a good thing for the powerful warrior. He searched an area with a radius of thousands of miles, very carefully. At the same time, he mobilized some scouts, but still, he could not find Luli. Half a month later, Luli sneaked out. He could not stay here forever. He had to find a way to leave. It had been more than half a month. That powerful warrior could not still be watching him. Could he? So many major powers have been waging war against each other. There are more scouts nearby. Luli sneaked away. He noticed many scouts were searching and hiding nearby. He wondered if they were looking for him. That powerful warrior had not given up on searching for him. Whoosh! From the front left came a noise. Luli dared not to go forward. He sneaked to the back at once. He took a detour and noticed that there were more scouts nearby. The two battleships were loitering around as well. Clearly, they were searching for something. The two battleships probably had powerful warriors that were very close to the consummate realm. Luli was troubled. Was he going to stay in the Dharma realm forever? He would have to wait for a few years. Let me take a look. I will go back to the Dharma realm if I can't make it. Luli sneaked along with caution. He did not dare to go to the east because there was a battleship loitering there. Clearly, the battleship was there to prevent him from going there. Luli was heading to the east. He wanted to go to the north, but there was another battleship there. He had to go to the south. However, after walking for a while, he felt that something was wrong. The Flame Emperor Mountain seemed to be to the south. If he walked in that direction, wouldn't he accidentally enter the Flame Emperor Mountain? Walk around Flame Emperor Mountain. On second thought, Luli snuck toward the Flame King Mountain. After more than a day, he had arrived at the periphery of the Flame King Mountain. What surprised him was that there weren't many experts in Flame Emperor Mountain. Although there were scouts, there were no armies or experts stationed there, and there were no chaotic battles. Passed through the middle of Flame Emperor Mountain. Luli made up his mind. The Flame King Mountain was a mountain range with a width of tens of millions of miles. As long as he could cross this mountain range, it would be difficult for his enemies to hunt him down. Previously, Luli did not like the Flame King Mountain. He just thought that so many forces were here to fight for the treasured land. Now that he realized that was not the case, Luli no longer cared. He sneaked into the Flame King Mountain. Something's wrong. An hour later, Luli was in the deepest part of the Flame King Mountain. All of a sudden, he sensed danger and the presence of a divine pattern formation. He did not have a deep understanding of divine patterns, but Blood Fairy did. Luli had seen many divine patterns and seen Blood Fairy build formations many times. Therefore, he was particularly sensitive to divine patterns. He activated the mark of the Great Path and sensed his surroundings. This place was in ruins. There were collapsed boulders and cracked cornerstones everywhere. In the distance, he could see some stone pillars. It could be seen that this was an extremely prosperous place in the past. There should have been a group of palaces here. Divine patterns. Luli sensed it. He was about to run away when someone spread out and locked onto him. A laugh came to his mind at the same time. Thief, you are good at running. Let's see how you're going to run this time. A powerful warrior that is very close to the consummate level. Luli was taken aback. This powerful warrior was the one that attacked Luli. Luli did not expect that this warrior was here and had been waiting for him. Without any hesitation, Luli vanished on the spot and entered the Dharma realm. A skinny man came out all of a sudden. He waved his hand and said, "Formation, activate." Buzzing, the broken roots and broken walls glowed. Following that, a thick dark fog came out and covered up an area with a radius of 3,000 miles. That powerful warrior snorted. "If you can escape from my formation of action, then I will be convinced." Swish, swish. The old warrior did not go looking for Luli. Instead, he waved his hand again. The dark fog shuttled back and forth like sharp swords, covering up the entire space. Countless wisps of black chi were shuttling back and forth inside, tearing the space inside apart. A moment later, the warrior was shocked again. So many sword rays had covered up the entire space in the formation of action, and yet he could not find Luli. Once again, Luli had disappeared mysteriously. Impossible. The warrior could not believe it. He was sure that there was no violent fluctuation in space just now. Therefore, Luli was not teleporting away. He was just hiding nearby, and the warrior could not tell. The thing was, the sword rays in the formation of action had no blind spots. It was impossible for a living being to hide. Even if Lu Li were to turn into a pebble, he would be attacked by the sword rays and then found. Go on. The warrior could not believe it. He controlled more sword rays to shuttle back and forth. An hour later, the warrior was convinced. Lu Li seemed to have left this world. He was not in the formation of action. Wait. This supreme expert pondered for a moment before his silhouette vanished from where he stood. The black chi in the surroundings also gradually dissipated, and the divine inscriptions on the ground were no longer activated. Lu Li had been hiding for more than half a month, but he was still nearby. This indicated that Lu Li did not leave right away. Therefore, the warrior believed that Lu Li must be nearby. He wanted to see how long Lu Li could stay here. The warrior would be willing to wait for a year or two. He really is nearby. Half a month later, the warrior put on a mocking smile. Just now, Lu Li could not help but use the trace of great Tao to check. Average Saint Emperors would not be able to tell. But the warrior sensed something was not right. Aha! The warrior hid as well. As long as he did not show himself, Lu Li would not be able to tell where he was. The warrior wanted to have a competition of patience with Lu Li. How long could Lu Li hide? This is troublesome. Lu Li, who was in the realm of Dharma, was troubled. Just now, he did not see where the warrior was. That being said, he clearly sensed something. Since there were no warriors or beasts nearby, there could only be one explanation. The warrior was hiding nearby, waiting for Lu Li. Aren't the countless forces in the vicinity fighting? Lu Li was confused. This warrior was also hunting down another warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm, which meant that the war was still going on. Was this warrior that bored? What was he doing here, waiting for Lu Li? Chapter 3381. This powerful warrior was not bored out of his mind. He was sure that Lu Li was the best scout, and he wanted to keep Lu Li here. A scout that even he couldn't find. How powerful was this scout? If Lu Li could not be killed, he would bring endless trouble to this side. Half a month, 1 month, 1.5 months. Lu Li was speechless. The powerful warrior had been here all this time. Was he trying to keep an eye on Lu Li? He would not stop until Lu Li was dead. Lu Li made up his mind. He might as well cultivate for a while. So many forces were fighting outside. He did not believe that the powerful warrior would stay here to keep an eye on him. Could it be that the powerful warrior had been here all this time when he had been cultivating for 1.5 years? Without Lu Li, their forces would be weakened. Wasn't Lu Li worried? Wouldn't the leaders of their forces swear? Lu Li went into closed-door cultivation for half a year. When Lu Li woke up and tried to sense the outside, he was speechless. The powerful warrior was still here. Lu Li was wrong. The force that the powerful warrior was in was very strong. There were dozens of warriors that were infinitely close to the perfect completion realm. Lu Li was still here. What was more, this force had suppressed 2 nearby forces. Lu Li didn't have to do anything. Since he had nothing to do when he went back, the powerful warrior might as well stay here. He did not believe that Lu Li could stay here forever. As a matter of fact, he was confident of his hiding skills. He believed that Lu Li could not sense him. It was true that Lu Li did not know where the powerful warrior was. However, the trace of Tao could sense the presence of living beings. The powerful warrior's chi and energy never changed. How could Lu Li not know he was here? Lu Li had been cultivating for more than half a year, but the old man was still here. Lu Li was worried. The old man was not leaving. Had he been cultivating in the realm of magic all this time? He had been in the immortal region for a long time. Would something happen to the Lu Alliance in the Chaotic Star region? Would Mo Chanqian, Wan Xiu, Yang, and the others be okay at the Palace of Immortals inquiries? More importantly, there was nothing he could do in the realm of magic. His cultivation progress was slow. Staying here was a waste of time. What was more, if this powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the perfect completion went to ask for help, would Lu Li be forced out of the realm of magic? Lu Li thought about it and went into the interspatial artifact. Zishi and the ghost Taoist were both there. They stopped of their cultivation to surround Lu Li when they saw him. "Brother Lu, what is it?" Zishi grabbed Lu Li's hand. Even though the ghost Taoist didn't ask, he was concerned. Luli hadn't contacted them for more than half a year. Something must have happened. Otherwise, he would have let them out. I am trapped. A powerful warrior that is infinitely close to the perfect completion has been waiting outside for more of Luli of the past half of his cultivation, of the interspatial artifact, of his mind, of the interspatial artifact, of the perfect completion. Also, if he went into the interspatial artifact, it would be exposed to the outside. How could this powerful warrior not find out? Luli didn't explain. Zishi and the ghost Taoist didn't ask either. Luli told them to think of a way. Zishi thought about it and said, "There is no other way. A powerful warrior of this level is too horrifying. Unless there is an immortal beast of this level nearby, there is nothing I can do." There were no immortal beasts nearby. The ghost Taoist thought of something else. His eyes glowed, and he asked, "Master, are you at the Flame King Mountain?" "Yes." Luli nodded. His eyes glowed. Then he shook his head and said, "No. Even if we go to the treasured place in the Flame King Mountain, that powerful warrior can track us down in an instant. We will still be trapped in the treasured place. We will be giving them a treasured place for nothing." No. The ghost Taoist shook his head and said with certainty, "That place is a maze. It took me 3,000 years to find the exit. Also, behind the maze, there is a more powerful formation of illusion. The formation of illusion will become stronger when it is stronger. As long as we go into the maze, we will be able to get rid of this powerful warrior. After we go through the formation of illusion, there will be a teleportation altar. We can teleport out of the Flame King Mountain from the altar and then run away." Luli hesitated and asked, "Are you sure? How can I lie to you?" The ghost Taoist said solemnly, "Master, where is the area of the Flame King Mountain?" Luli took out a piece of paper and a brush and began to draw. The ghost Taoist read it several times and sighed. "There is still a long way to go before we reach the entrance. Master, it will take at least the time for 2 breaths to reach the entrance." The time for 2 breaths was short. But for a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm, it was a long time. A powerful warrior of this level could kill Luli hundreds of times. As soon as Luli went out, he would be attacked by that powerful warrior. Luli and the ghost Taoist and Zishi would be killed in an instant. Therefore, they had no chance to reach the entrance of the treasured place. "I have some corpse kings that I have refined for 10,000 years. The ghost Taoist made up his mind and said, "I will use them. They should be able to hold on for 1 breath, but it is not enough." Luli said nothing. If the Thunder Beast was still alive, it might be able to hold on for 1 breath. Unfortunately, it had disappeared in the Eye of Destruction. It was very likely that it had been killed by the force of destruction. Luli's defense was strong, and he seemed to have many moves. But it was not enough to deal with a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm. For example, if Luli used the purple divine liquid and then released formations, it would have no effect on a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm. Or, if Luli used the super divine liquid of destruction, it might be useful. The question was, would a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm give him the chance to hit? When Luli was at a loss of what to do, a soft voice came. "I could trap him for 1 or 2 breaths. But if I use the forbidden skill, I may have to sleep for a year." Luli and the ghost Taoist suddenly looked towards Zishi, their faces filled with shock. This little girl, who seemed to be only at the initial stage of the Emperor realm, could trap a powerful warrior infinitely close to the consummate realm for 1 breath. If it were not for the fact that Zishi had many unimaginable skills, Luli and the ghost Taoist would have turned their noses up at her. Luli and Zishi looked at each other and saw absolute confidence in her eyes. Luli thought about it and asked after a while, "Is it harmful to your body?" "No." Zishi shook her head and said with a sweet smile, "This forbidden skill is just that I am too weak now. Otherwise, I could use it at will. Given my current abilities, I will consume some of my vitality. So, I will sleep for a year. By then, I will have to rely on you, Brother Lu. Okay. Luli nodded and said, don't worry. No warrior can hurt you unless I am dead. Luli could not wait any longer. He didn't want to wait any longer. He decided to take a gamble. He would rush into the treasured land of the Flame King Mountain and use it to escape from the pursuit of powerful warriors. Chapter 3382. At the Fire King Mountain, the warrior who was close to the consummate realm was still lurking nearby. He was not exactly lurking. He was just sitting on a hill. His body was integrated with heaven and earth, so Luli could not tell where he was. This was a skill unique to warriors of this realm. They could mobilize forces in heaven and earth to be closer to heaven and earth. It was easy for them to become one with heaven and earth. When they reached the consummate realm, they could transform into a world of their own. As long as they did not show themselves, not even warriors close to the consummate realm could sense them. He had been waiting here for more than half a year. As a matter of fact, he was getting impatient. There was nothing he could do if Luli did not come out. If Luli were to hide here for years or decades, the warrior would not be able to stay here forever. It would not matter if it was not a war. However, several super forces were at war. If he stayed here for too long, what if the enemy ambushed him? Let's wait for another year. The warrior thought to himself. Right at that moment, he sensed something strange. He felt there was a pair of eyes in the air. Although he did not show it, he was mocking Luli. Was Luli checking again? Had he lost his patience? Buzzing, all of a sudden, space began to tremble. Following a glare, 7 or 8 people came out. The warrior's eyes glowed coldly as he showed himself. Was Luli going to come out now? The 7 or 8 people, to be exact, were 1 person, 1 girl, and 5 corpses. The energy of death from the 5 corpses was strong. One look, and Luli could tell that they were the corpses of Saint Kings. They must have been refined for many years and possessed strong abilities. Roar! The 5 corpses raised their heads and roared. Then, their bodies rapidly grew larger, and they flew towards the direction where he was sitting cross-legged. The corpses were covered with evil spirits. Their eyes were glowing in green, and their claws were glowing in black. There was no decaying flesh. Instead, the corpses looked tough, as if they were made of cold iron. The energy of death from the corpses made people uncomfortable. That supreme being laughed coldly. His body appeared in a flash. He did not even take out a weapon. He merely waved his hand casually. In an instant, 5 small palm imprints appeared in the air and landed on the chests of the 5 corpse emperors. Bang, 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 bang. 5 muffled sounds rang out, and the 5 corpse monarchs couldn't move at the same time, as if they had been immobilized. In the next moment, the 5 corpses exploded into dust, and the dense, baleful corpse chi instantly disappeared. The 5 corpse emperors that were like 5 demonic mountains were directly crushed, as though they had never appeared before. Xiao. On the other side, when the 5 corpse kings took action, Luli flew toward the northeast with Zishi at the top of his speed. At the moment, they were more than 30,000 miles away. This powerful warrior could have activated the formation of an action, but he didn't. Luli could still hide in some unknown world if he did. Therefore, it was better to let Luli escape than to trap him. How fast could Luli be? Only by giving him a glimmer of hope would he be able to kill him. You want to escape with this speed? The powerful warrior sneered. He turned into a breeze and appeared behind Lu Li and Zishi in the next second. His cold laughter rang in Lu Li's ears. Punk, surrender to me and I will spare your life. Zishi, Lu Li shouted and kept flying forward. However, Zishi, whom he was holding, suddenly turned around and faced this powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm. Buzzing, Zishi's body glowed with green light. Her black hair turned green as well. Her hair was growing at a crazy speed, and in an instant, it had become hundreds of thousands of feet long. Her green hair was shaking like seaweed floating in the air, creating an enchanting sense of beauty. At the same time, A surge of strange chi and energy spread out, which made the powerful warrior's eyes blur. It was not seaweed or hair, but some kind of strange, spiritual energy. At this moment, the powerful warrior was absorbed by the strange, spiritual energy, and he fell into a strange state without knowing it. Horrifying. Luli was secretly shocked. Even a powerful warrior infinitely close to the consummate realm could fall into an illusion? In a fight between powerful warriors, life and death could be decided in an instant. If Zishi were a powerful warrior, the powerful warrior behind her would have been killed by now. Luli dared not to be distracted. His psychic power locked onto a small mountain in front of him. There was a small abyss at the bottom of the mountain, and the entrance was inside the abyss. Whoosh! Luli was fast. He dashed into the abyss at once. He let the ghost Taoist out. Without any hesitation, the ghost Taoist dashed toward the bottom of the abyss. "Brother Lu, I am counting on you." A weak voice came out. Luli realized that Zishi had passed out. He put Zishi into his interspatial artifact at once. The ghost Taoist let out 3 corpse kings and rushed back as well. "Master, let's go." The ghost Taoist took Li into the abyss. The ghost Taoist dashed toward a pond at the bottom of the abyss. The pond stank, and it was clearly poisonous. But the ghost Taoist dashed in without any hesitation. Whoosh! Luli dashed in as well. As soon as they went in, they heard 3 muffled noises behind them. The 3 corpse kings were smashed into pieces. Then, the warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm appeared above the pond. The ghost Taoist grinned. He was not in a hurry to go in. Instead, he said with mockery, "You know where the entrance to the tomb of Yin King is? Are you try to escape from me by using the tomb of Yin King? Ridiculous." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Still, the powerful warrior did not go in. Instead, he threw out formation stones and began to build formations. He was fast. In a time for a few breaths, a formation was completed. In an instant, the abyss was filled with dark fog. The sun could not be seen as if it had been sealed. A warrior of the great emperor realm with strange stealth skills? A little girl who can charm even me, and a Taoist who can refine corpses? What an interesting combination. The powerful warrior murmured, "If you didn't go into the tomb of Yin King, it might be more troublesome for me to catch you. But now that you are here, you are walking into a trap. When it comes to understanding the tomb of Yin King, who could be more knowledgeable than me?" Ha 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 ha. The supreme expert disappeared in a flash and rushed into the pool. After a flash of white light, he came to a crisscrossed cave. This was the outermost maze of the tomb of Yin King. The powerful warrior did seem to be familiar with this place. He did not stop at all. He dashed forward at the speed of a ghost. The ghost Taoist spent 3,000 years to get out of this place. But the powerful warrior came out in the time for a dozen breaths. Not bad. He stood at the end of the cave. In front of him was a natural stone bridge. He closed his eyes and sensed. He said with a smile, "I can't believe I got out of the maze and entered the formation of illusion so quickly. It seems that the corpse Taoist is very familiar with this place. Do you want to get out of the formation of illusion and go to the teleportation altar? Ha. I have a surprise for you." Third Sect Master. Chapter 3383. Li and the others were fast. The ghost Taoist had been studying here for 3,000 years, and he was familiar with the layout. In the time for a few breaths, he had made it out. There will be an illusory formation inside later. "Master, do you want to enter my spatial god artifact?" Outside the maze, the ghost Taoist asked. He had experience in solving illusions. He was afraid that Luli would be trapped by the illusions and be killed by the powerful warriors chasing after him. "No need." Luli shook his head and said, "Will it be okay if I go with you? How long do you need to pass through this formation?" Luli didn't like to put his fate in the hands of others. What if powerful warriors caught up with him? How could the ghost Taoist fight back? At the very least, he could enter the Dharma realm, so he naturally couldn't enter the ghost Taoist spatial divine item. I don't know. The ghost Taoist shook his head and said, I've said it before, this illusory formation will become stronger the stronger it is, and it will constantly change, so I'm not sure how long it will take to get through this formation. If you follow me, I'm afraid that we'll get lost because this illusion array works on different people. Emma, I understand. While following the ghost Taoist, Luli asked, what is the key to cracking the illusion formation? Don't worry, my ability to break arrays is much stronger than you think. While moving forward, Ghost Taoist pondered. After entering the illusory formation, he said, between illusion and reality, reality and illusion. Illusion is reality, reality is illusion. This is the core of breaking this illusory formation. Luli was deep in thought. They stepped onto the stone bridge and entered the mountain path. Not long afterward, they felt a white glare. Then the scene in front of them changed. They were in an illusion. Ghost Taoist? When Luli went in, he noticed that the ghost Taoist was gone. Not only could he not see the ghost Taoist, even the spiritual connection was gone. It was as if Luli was the only person left in the world. This illusion array is very powerful. Luli used the trace of Tao to sense carefully and then flew forward quickly. He did not dare to stay where he was. What if that powerful warrior had caught up with him? His speed was very fast. After flying for a full 2 hours, the world was still a vast expanse without any scenery. There was only endless white fog. He couldn't see the bottom, nor could he see the top. There was only white fog to his left, right, and front. Between reality and illusion, Luli was confused. What was real and what was fake? It was all fake. There was no real thing. How was he going to break the formation? He had no choice but to use the simplest method. A beam of red light flew out of his body, and Blood Fairy began to investigate. Given Blood Fairy's abilities, it would not be difficult for her to break through a formation of illusion. Also, this was a single formation of illusion, not a combined one. Luli believed that it would not take Blood Fairy long to solve it. An hour later, Blood Fairy sent a voice transmission. Master, this formation cannot be broken. What? Luli was taken aback. There was a formation of illusion that Blood Fairy could not solve. Was this a joke? This isn't a spell formation, Blood Fairy explained. It's a psychic will. A super elite's psychic will enter your soul and cause you to hallucinate. I can't break this spell formation, so you'll have to walk out on your own. I see. Luli was enlightened. The formation of illusion here was impressive. This Emperor of Flame must be a warrior at the consummate realm. This place had existed for so many years, yet his spiritual consciousness still existed. That was a miracle. Blood Fairy came back. Luli did not move. If this was not an average formation of illusion, then regular methods would not work. If he could not figure out a way, flying forward for 10,000 years would be pointless. Maybe he seemed to be flying, but he had not moved at all. Psychic will? Is it forming a formation of illusion in my mind? Luli thought about it. In other words, at the moment, his spirit and body should be separated. If his spirit could not get rid of the formation of illusion, then he would never be able to control his body, and he would be trapped here for the rest of his life. So, the key is how to connect the spirit and body. Luli had an idea. As long as his spirit and body could be connected, then he would be free from this formation of illusion. He would be able to see the real path in front of him, instead of the illusion he was seeing now. That is to say, my soul might be surrounded by some strong energy. Is it cutting off the connection with my body? And this energy has a strange ability to make me hallucinate. How can I build a connection with my body? Right? The realm of Dharma. Soon, Luli thought of a way. He could sense the existence of the realm of Dharma. As long as he entered the realm of Dharma, he would be able to establish a connection with his body, and then he would be able to get rid of this formation of illusion. With a thought, the scene in front of him disappeared, and he reappeared in the realm of Dharma. Luli was delighted. How could he crack the formation of illusion so easily? He dashed away and reappeared in the outside world. However, when he reappeared in the outside world, he saw a white haze again. It was the same as the previous illusion. He did not crack the formation of illusion. He did not panic because he was sure that he had entered the realm of Dharma. The reason why he fell into this illusion again was that after he came out, he was attacked by that strong psychic power again. Illusion and reality. Illusion and reality. This moment is illusion, and just now is reality. I am actually changing between illusion and reality? Luli was intrigued. This was in line with the Taoist of Ghosts' idea of illusion and reality. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli smiled and said, I see. Illusion is reality and reality is illusion. Illusion is reality and reality is illusion. Illusion will always be illusion and reality will always be reality. Go! The white haze in front of Li suddenly dispersed. Several paths appeared in front of Li. The Taoist of Ghost was still standing next to him. His eyes were filled with confusion. It seemed that he was still trapped in the formation of illusion. Li thought about it. He carried the Taoist of Ghost with one hand and flew forward quickly. The path was long. After flying for an hour, the terrain changed. There was an underground plaza. As far as the eyes could see, there were more than a dozen corridors in the plaza. When Li entered the plaza, the Taoist of Ghosts suddenly came back to his senses. He looked around and said with shame, Master, you are impressive. I thought you would need a long time to crack the formation, and I wanted to take you away. I didn't expect that you could crack it in such a short time. I have been boasting shamelessly. Please don't laugh at me. Let's not talk about this. Li was not complacent at all. He did not rely on himself. At the end of the day, he had a strange realm of Dharma. Without this realm of Dharma, it would not be so easy for him to crack the formation. He would not be as fast as the Taoist of Ghost. Looking at the numerous corridors in front of them, Li said, Which one? Let's go to the one with the teleportation altar. This place is too horrifying. Let's not explore. This way. The Taoist of Ghost nodded. He led the way and explained to Li at the same time. He had been to 3 corridors here. One of them was filled with endless flames. If he dared to go in, he would be burned into ashes. The other one was filled with powerful avatars. He felt some of them could be as powerful as warriors that were infinitely close to the complete completion of the realm. Li had no interest in this treasured land. Therefore, he didn't pay much attention to it. He followed the Taoist of Ghost all the way. Soon, they arrived at a small underground plaza with a teleportation altar in front of them. Wait! Before they stepped into the altar, Li's pupils contracted. Without any hesitation, he stepped back quickly and said to the Taoist of Ghost, Release the skeletons. All the powerful skeletons, or we will all die. Now, Master 3. Chapter 3384. The Ghost Taoist was too full of himself. He thought the entrance was well hidden. As a matter of fact, the tomb of Flame Emperor had been discovered by other forces nearby before he found it. The treasures on the periphery had been taken away. It was called Flame Emperor Mountain. Flame Emperor was a famous warrior at the absolute completion in the history of the immortal region. How could no warriors suspect this place? This place had been discovered many years ago, and it had caused a great commotion. Countless major factions had fought over it. But in the end, this place became a forbidden area. It was marked as a dangerous place on the map because most of the warriors that entered here died. None of the major forces got the real treasures. Warriors at the absolute completion could not go in. It was not that the setup here was so powerful that even warriors at the absolute completion would die in there. It was because once warriors at the absolute completion went in, the place would collapse. Flame Emperor had set up a trap here. If a warrior at the absolute completion forced his way in, the place would explode and everything inside would vanish into thin air. Therefore, some warriors at the absolute completion came to have a look and then didn't go in. They would die one day. Maybe they also had a similar setup. Therefore, there was no need to destroy this place. Powerful warriors close to the absolute completion, including countless Saint Emperors, had been here more than once. But none of them had entered the core area. Flame Emperor's setup was horrifying, and they could not stand it. Some of them might have been able to force their way into the core area, but it would also destroy the place, and they would be blown to death. All the good stuff in the periphery had been taken away. There were no treasured lands that could help warriors improve their realms or learn fundamental meanings. The core area could not be entered. Gradually, more and more warriors came in. On the other hand, low-level warriors could easily die here. This place was no longer a land of treasured lands, but a land of death. Of course, occasionally, some warriors who were not afraid of death or who wanted to train themselves would come in and explore. In the end, they would either gain nothing or die in there. The powerful warrior that was close to the absolute completion that was chasing after Lu Li was familiar with this place. He had been here many times. He could have killed Lu Li in the illusion, but he wanted to give Lu Li a surprise. He came here from another mountain path. He wanted to wait for Lu Li to be teleported away, but he suddenly found that the teleportation altar was broken. He thought it must be interesting to see the expression of joy turning to sorrow. Unfortunately, he didn't do it well. Lu Li noticed something before he entered the hall. Lu Li sensed a trace of life. It should have been many years since a martial artist broke into this place, so there was actually a faint decaying aura in many places. Even though the warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm had been concealing his energy, the small hall was completely sealed at the moment. Lu Li, with the trace of Tao, had amazing senses. He could still sense the presence of living beings. Lu Li had been fighting all his life. He was constantly walking between life and death, so his reaction speed was incredible. Without hesitation, he immediately retreated and ordered the ghost Taoist to release the skeletons. The ghost Taoist was Lu Li's sole slave. Out of instinct, he obeyed Lu Li's orders. Therefore, the ghost Taoist's interspatial artifact kept glowing. Countless skeletons, corpse kings, and corpse kings came out and blocked off the tunnel. Ha ha ha! A burst of laughter rang out, and the figure of the supreme expert appeared. He laughed and said, "Your perception is indeed amazing, but I want to see where you can escape to this time. The entrance has been sealed by me, and this altar has been destroyed. You have nowhere to run. Surrender obediently, and I can spare your lives. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Do you think you can stop me with just these corpse soldiers?" Boom, boom, boom. The powerful warrior rushed over. Everywhere he passed by, the corpse kings and skeletons were all crushed into dust. He was so fast. Lu Li and the others had left the hall. Lu Li wanted to rush into the realm of magic, but he hesitated after hearing the words of the powerful warrior. The entrance was sealed, and the altar was destroyed. What could he do in the realm of magic? Hide in the realm of magic for the rest of his life. Surrender? Surrender to this powerful warrior and join his force? In that case, he might have a chance to live and leave, but his fate would be out of his control. If this powerful warrior had some special means to control his fate, then he could be a slave for the rest of his life. No. Soon, Lu Li rejected the idea. He once surrendered to the abyss of devils and almost became a slave there for the rest of his life. He had had enough of that kind of life. He would rather die than live like that again. If he could not surrender, then he must find a way to escape. Was there any other way apart from the realm of magic? Many thoughts flashed across Lu Li's mind. At this moment, he made up his mind. He dragged the ghost Taoist into a tunnel. More skeletons were coming out from the ghost Taoist's interspatial artifact. Ha 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 ha! Seeing that Lu Li and the ghost Taoist had gone into a tunnel, the powerful warrior was amused. He laughed and said, "This tunnel leads to the Hall of Hellfire. Not even I can stand the flames in the deepest part. You want to run away? You are digging your own grave." Oh! When Lu Li heard this, he was overjoyed, but he pretended to be frightened. He didn't stop. He kept flying forward, pretending that he was going to risk his life to break through the gates of hell. "Master, he is right. There are 9 levels of flames in there. I once went to the 6th level as high as I could. I will still die if I go further." The ghost Taoist's voice rang in Lu Li's mind. But Lu Li didn't take it seriously. So what if the flames were strong? No matter how strong the flames were, they were just a form of energy. As long as they touched his body, he could absorb them with the realm of magic. The flames might not burn him to death. Therefore, as long as he could go into the flames, he would be safe, and he could find another teleportation altar to escape. The powerful warrior could have caught up with Luli easily. The Ghost Taoist Corpse King was gone, and he could ignore the skeletons. But he wanted to see Luli in despair when he went into the flames. Therefore, he caught up with Luli at ease. He waved his hand, and the attacking skeletons were turned into dust. Luli was fast. In the time for 2 breaths, he had reached the end of the tunnel. In front of him was a rectangular hall. The hall was long, about 300 miles. There was a dim light on the walls. Luli and the others could see a door at the end of the hall. There was no fire in the hall at the moment. But Luli knew that as soon as he stepped into the hall, the flames would come out. Without any hesitation, Luli said to the Ghost Taoist, "Don't resist. Trust me." Luli's interspatial artifact glowed, and the Ghost Taoist was taken in. Then Luli stepped into the hall. Bang! The hall glowed. Flames burst out from underground and filled the entire hall. Luli was enveloped by the flames as well. Red, yellow, orange, green, cyan, blue, purple, white, and black. There were 9 types of flames. Each of them covered an area of more than 30 miles. They were clearly differentiated, as if there were 9 guards of different abilities guarding the 9 levels to stop the challengers from entering. Chapter 3385. Luli used to refine his body with fire and thunderbolts on many occasions. Therefore, he was resistant to fire. Many years ago, he stayed at the Scorching Island in the 3rd layer. The place was filled with powerful flames. Therefore, he was not afraid of fire. Of course, it was not that he was immune to fire. Back at the Scorching Island, he could not go to the depth, or else he would be burned into ashes. Now, it was different. He had the realm of Dharma that could absorb strange energy. As far as he was concerned, fire was a type of strange energy. Theoretically, he could absorb it. At this moment, he was in the 1st layer of flames. The flames were very strong, but they didn't affect him much. He stood in the flames as if he was standing on flat ground. It was very easy. Only his robe and hair were burned. Luli did not stop. He dashed into the 2nd layer of fire. He did not use the realm of Dharma, because he was afraid that the powerful warrior would notice something was wrong and attack him directly. The 3rd layer, the 4th layer, Luli was still relaxed. He could withstand it with his body. The powerful warrior walked to the edge of the fire. Seeing Luli walking forward, he smiled and said, "Punk, you have a good body, but don't go any further. Not even I can stand the 8th layer of fire. If you go any further, you will only turn into ashes." "I want to try." Luli turned back and said, "I would rather die than become someone else's slave." "Slave?" The powerful warrior was surprised. He shook his head and said, "When did I say I want you to be my slave? I only want you to surrender to me, not to be a slave. Actually, as long as you perform well, the ancient palace will put you in an important position." "Well, I forgot to ask you. Punk, which force are you from?" "I am not from your side." While moving on, Luli said, "We are just passing by. We are going to the city of Mystic Armor. We do not want to get involved in your war, nor do we want to work for any of your forces." Luli was trying to buy himself some time. He had reached the 5th layer. His skin was red, but there was still no sign of being burned. He began to use the dragon skill to strengthen his body and prevent injuries. Oh, that powerful warrior paused for a moment. He thought about it. It seemed that there was no such person as Luli in the nearby forces. Otherwise, Luli would have become famous a long time ago with so many miraculous skills. The supreme expert pondered for a moment and said, "I don't care if you're from the enemy forces or just passing by. This seat is cordially inviting you to join our ancient palace. Our ancient palace has 2 perfection realm experts and 50 experts who are infinitely close to perfection realm. Our faction is one of the 3 strongest factions in the vicinity. As long as you are willing to join, I can represent the ancient palace to give you the best treatment." "Oh." Luli looked back at him and said, What kind of treatment? Can he be an elder? With that said, Luli moved on. He had reached the 6th layer of flames. The intensity of the flames was too much for him. He had no other choice but to release the dragon transformation. Huh, there are indeed a lot of divine arts. Seeing that Luli could stand the 6th layer of flames after he released the dragon transformation, the powerful warrior was impressed. Then he said, "Don't go any further. Even if you can stand the 7th layer of flames, I bet you can't stand the 8th layer. I think we can talk about the treatment. The position of a patriarch is a bit difficult, but I think the other positions are negotiable." Luli was not interested in the position of the ancient palace. If he wanted to join a force, he would have joined the Yun family a long time ago. Luli stopped, looked back at the powerful warrior, and said, "A bet? You want to have a bet? If I can stand the 8th layer of flames, how about you eat 5 pounds of sh*t?" The powerful warrior was enraged. No warrior could humiliate a warrior who was infinitely close to the perfection realm, let alone a puny Luli. He was filled with killing intent. He almost attacked Luli, but in the end, he managed to control himself. He laughed at himself and said, "Since you are so confident, then let's have a bet. If you can survive the 8th layer of flames, I will eat 5 pounds of sh*t. If you can't, then join the ancient palace. How about that?" Deal. Luli understood what the powerful warrior was planning. If Luli couldn't stand it, then the powerful warrior would take him out. Luli put on a gentle smile. How interesting would it be for a powerful warrior who is infinitely close to the perfection realm to eat sh*t? Even if Luli won, the powerful warrior would need it. But at the very least, Luli would be able to satisfy some of his wicked interests. Luli was standing in between the 6th and 7th layer of flames. As he stepped into the 7th layer of flames, smoke began to rise from his body. He didn't dare to fight head-on anymore. He secretly controlled the realm of magic at once. The swirl in the realm of magic began to spin. The flames around him disappeared as they were sucked into Luli's realm of magic. A vacuum appeared around Luli. He sensed it and put on a gentle smile. Then he turned back to the powerful warrior and said, "I am sorry. I'm afraid you will be disappointed this time. I suggest you get ready to poop. Maybe you can't poop so much, but you can eat some to fill your stomach." Whoosh! Luli sped up and rushed forward. Everywhere he went, the flames disappeared. They were all sucked into the realm of magic. He was fast. He rushed into the 8th layer of flames at once. He stood in the 8th layer of flames easily. There was a vacuum around him. White flames kept sweeping over, but were absorbed by Luli at once. He turned around with a smile, looked at the powerful warrior, and said, "A powerful warrior who is infinitely close to the perfection realm of magic is a man of his word. I don't think you will go back on your words. If you don't have sh*t, I can give you some." What? The powerful warrior looked as if he had seen a ghost. His mouth was agape. It had been years since he was this shocked. He had lived for more than 200,000 years and had seen many strange things. Naturally, he would be able to stay calm. But now, he could not stay calm anymore. Kill him. I must kill him, or there will be endless troubles. A thought popped up in the mind of this supreme expert, and he put it into action. A golden javelin appeared in his hand, and he hurled it forward. As soon as he took out the spear, Luli made a move. He vanished and entered the realm of magic. The spear passed through the 9 layers of flames with a sound of wind and thunder. But it was melted into molten iron in the 9th layer of flames. Buzzing, Luli dashed out and dashed in the 9th layer of flames. The flames that could melt top-level holy weapons could not burn him. Luli absorbed the black flames as well. He didn't go into the gate right away. Instead, he moved around quickly and absorbed more than half of the black flames. Not even a powerful warrior close to the perfection realm of magic could stand the white flames. Luli believed that once the black flames were released, even a powerful warrior close to the perfection realm of magic could be burned. This was a super weapon. Chapter 3386. The powerful warrior gasped when he saw this. He already had a whole new level of respect for Luli, but he was taken aback once again. He did not know how horrifying the black flames were. All he knew was that he would be burned into ashes if he were to be engulfed by the black flames. Not only was Luli unharmed by such a horrifying flame, he even put away. Was he a warrior at the consummate level of fire? This supreme expert was starting to doubt his own judgment. There was only a small amount of black flames. After Luli absorbed more than half of them, no more flames came out. Luli walked toward the door. At this moment, the powerful warrior felt jealous. Not even warriors at the consummate level could go in, and nobody knew what was inside. Now, Luli had gone in. That was to say, Luli might have the legacy of Flame Emperor and the treasures inside. He might even have Flame Emperor's weapons, armors, and artifacts. Weapons and armors were not valuable. What was valuable was the great Tao inscribed in them by warriors at the consummate level. Those were supreme treasures. A warrior at the consummate level would only use one weapon and one armor. They would not bother to make armors and weapons for other warriors. As long as they were alive, no warrior could lay a finger on the people they were protecting. What was the point of giving them armors and weapons? The legacy of Flame Emperor. The jealousy in the eyes of the powerful warrior grew stronger. He thought for a while and then flew back. He must report this to the master of the ancient palace and see if the other powerful warriors could come up with a plan to take Luli down. Should he go in and take a share or just destroy this place? Creak, creak. On the other side, Luli pushed open the door. After a moment of hesitation, he stepped in. After a white glare, he found himself in a small valley. He was standing in a stone pavilion. It was evident that the pavilion had been here for many years. There was moss on the stone pillars. There were no animals or beasts in here. Trees provided shade, and the air was fresh. The Xianqi in heaven and earth was rich. The view was beautiful. This was an elegant place. Luli looked around. Soon, he was taken aback. He found many elixirs in the valley. As far as the eye could see, they were everywhere. There must be at least 100 of them. It was normal to have godly medicines. What was unusual was that the godly medicines here were all extremely old. Luli recognized one of the divine herbs. The divine fruits on it were originally only the size of a thumb. However, the divine fruits here were the size of a fist. 18-leaf phoenix Ganoderma. Heavens! Don't tell me these divine medicines are hundreds of thousands of years old. Luli recognized another one. He gulped. His cheeks were blushing and his eyes glowed. He did not know many of them, but he was sure that any one of them would cause a sensation in the chaotic starfield. Luli didn't pick so many herbs at once. He continued to observe the situation in the valley. There were no thatched cottages or wooden houses like he had imagined. Other than the pavilion, there were only those divine medicines and ancient trees. There was no pool here, and the valley was not big. It could be seen through with just a few glances. He used the mark of the Great Path to investigate for a while, then sent Blood Fairy to scout around. After confirming that there was no danger in the valley, he went to collect the herbs. He collected all the herbs carefully. There were many jade bottles and boxes in his interspatial ring. The herbs must be properly stored or they would be wasted. 123. If I sell them, how many celestial stones can I get? Luli thought to himself. Of course, he would not sell such valuable herbs. At best, he would trade for them. Of course, the top powers wouldn't sell these treasures. Instead, they would trade them for treasures of the same grade. Luli wandered around. Making sure that there were no more herbs, he went back to the pavilion. There was only one building in the valley. It must be something special. Luli wanted to see if there were any marks of Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level. He sat in the middle of the pavilion and used the mark of the Great Path to check. He cultivated here for 3 days. Unfortunately, he gained nothing. There were no marks of Tao here, nothing at all. It was just an average pavilion. Luli shook his head. He walked to the edge of the valley. There was a hidden stone gate. He had seen it before. This should be the entrance to the next level. Luli walked to the stone gate. He pushed it, but it would not budge. He did not dare to break in by force and asked Blood Fairy to do it. It only took Blood Fairy half an hour to break through the spell formation of a door. He used his divine telekinesis to probe inside, but there was nothing inside. There was nothing at all. After a moment of hesitation, Luli used the dragon transformation and dashed in. It was pitch dark. When Luli went in, he found that it was horribly dark inside. He could not sense anything in there, only darkness. He tried to use psychic power, only to realize that he could not use psychic power. He used the mark of the Great Path, and found that he could not sense anything around him either. Apart from darkness, there was nothing. The range of his senses was limited. Formation of illusion? Luli frowned. First, there was a formation of illusion. Now, there was another one. It did not make sense. Luli thought about it and entered the realm of Dharma. He was relieved to find that he could enter the realm of Dharma. When he came out, he found himself in that dark world again. Confused, he sent a voice transmission to Blood Fairy to investigate. She wanted to see if it was an illusion formed by spiritual power. A moment later, Blood Fairy replied, "Master, this is not a formation of illusion. I think it is some kind of strange law that has absorbed all the light and sealed up the space. I have checked. There is no exit. I think this is a sealed room." What? Luli was shocked. If this place was sealed, how could he get out? Making sure that there was no danger, Luli walked around slowly. Soon, he bumped into a wall. Boom! He smashed at the wall casually. The stone wall trembled. The divine patterns were trembling, but there was no light. This place was more like a cage. Luli searched around the walls. The hall was not large, only with a radius of 2 miles. It was surrounded by black stone walls. This was a sealed prison. Boom, boom, boom. Luli used his energy and the dragon transformation to strike at the walls. The divine patterns on the walls were strong. Luli could not crack them. What was more, the divine patterns were not moving. Clearly, the divine patterns were strong. Blood Fairy was still checking. Luli asked, "Can you crack the divine patterns here?" Blood Fairy did not reply. She waited for half an hour before she transmitted, "Master, this place is very complicated. Or perhaps this is not a pure divine glyph. There is a seal of law in here. Even if I can crack the divine patterns, you cannot get out." What? Luli was not worried at first. He was stunned by Blood Fairy's words. Was he going to be trapped here until he died? Master 3, you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.